Okay, don't care about that. Anyway, mother God, it has been a minute. This is gonna be part one of of the live I'm doing. I'm doing this like somewhere where like I'm not disturbed and my mom can't hear me and stuff because I already talked about my whole living situation. But what I want to get into. So I'm gonna be going over everywhere in this. I just wrote this down off rip, stuff that's been happening, what's on my mind and whatnot. I got stuff written down. Um, at the place I'm staying at, it's like somewhere in my book bag or wherever the case is. Forgot where I put it. I think it's in my wallet. But this is already going on a minute. I wanted to sit here and come on and talk about um, everything that is going on. And I got to put some stuff on my community. And to put this even into perspective and even further, I'm going to be putting a lot of pictures and a lot of other stuff on my community posts. So if you want to get notified when basically I'm going live or whenever I post anything or whatever the case it is, click the notification bell and say that you want to be notified every time. If you've been on YouTube for a minute, just click the notification bell, and so it can remind you about when I'm posting stuff, and the notification bell also reminds you of my community posts. We'll also like to sit here and emphasize on the fact that to to basically subscribe to my Rumble channel, which I will also link. But if you go on my community post and if you scroll really, you'll see my Rumble channel, and you'll also see my second channel. But point is, okay, now that I can sit here and finally do something, want to sit here and come out and recently, I'm not answering that. Just come out and recently and say stuff about basically what's going on. So I'm going to be going everywhere with this, so keep in mind. But also, so recently, in recent news, Bob Barker, I've posted about that guy. The guy from The Price is Right, the old dude with the white hair. I grew up on him. I'm 28. This dude has apparently died 3 times. 3 times. And this is the stuff that I've been talking about. Which is why, like, as you notice, my channel, it hasn't really changed. I put information out there, but this is the multiverse stuff that I talk about and people's experiences. And I want to sit here and tell people and show people that this is real. This isn't something I'm just sitting over here spitting out and also want to sit here and say that also might cuss in my life, because some of this stuff actually, like, it irritates me. But not irritates me, the stuff I'm talking about, but the people's reaction to this. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. So, and if you've been following me for a while, you also know that, I 99% of the time on my channel, I always say, excuse the people that are cussing and whatnot, which I got my phone fixed, so I don't really have time to sit here and type up everything. So really just gonna have to listen. But point is that specifically with this, right, the whole Bob Barker thing, going back to the point, the whole Bob Barker thing, this dude has died 3 times. Twice, technically, in my terms, since if you're older than me, older than 28, you know that guy has been around for a minute. And then the other guy, it's not Jim Carrey, it was Drew Carey that took over for The Price is Right, right? And I've talked about before in one of my lives or one of my videos how God basically sat there and showed me about something about how our Michael Jackson, on my world, wherever in the world that is now, how Michael Jackson died from a heart attack or whatever the case it was, even though, they killed him and stuff. He sat there and he told me where my Michael Jackson killed himself, or not killed himself, died from, overdose or whatever the case it is, because it has something to do with his doctor, who ironically was the same doctor for James Brown. How there's another Michael Jackson who, in another world, another dimension, where he killed himself. And so this is the thing. I want to also sit here and say that as much as people sit here and talk about celebrities and clones and all this other stuff, pretty soon with this whole doppelganger thing that's going on, clones are about to really sit here and I wouldn't say disappear, but from what God is showing me, that doppelgangers are really going to be a thing. And people, if you think seeing these creatures and stuff, and demons, I'm not going to say cryptids or aliens, all this other stuff, demons is what they are, is one thing. What's really going to trip people out is the fact that they're going to start seeing themselves, meeting themselves, which is why I've talked about on, I'm going to be on this for a minute, probably an hour, which is why I've been talking about basically seeing yourself in alternate versions of celebrities because they're real. I talked about the Rhea Ripley wrestler. She has a version of her that basically is a good person and whatnot, but her outfit is different. Rhea Ripley is always wearing a black outfit. She had a white outfit. I talked about that in another live. The Rock has another version of basically of him and that dimension. There's also an evil version of basically Vince McMahon, but he's way eviler than the Vince McMahon that exists here. And from what God has shown me in my dreams, basically, I saw, like, I remember having dreams about Vince McMahon meeting like two different versions of himself on a Hollywood carpet or something, taking pictures. And so there's that. Then there's the whole Rhea Ripley thing. The Rock has one. And this gets into like string theory and decisions and all that other stuff you would have to look up and research, which I posted before on my community post, the movies to watch and TV shows and cartoons, and that's not cartoons, but some of the movies and TV shows, because they talk about this, where you make one decision, there's also another version of you that makes an opposite decision, in which case there's actually, and speaking of which, on the multiverse, there's actually a government project, because they know about this, that is called Project Looking Glass. Look into it. It literally explains the multiverse and everything, and that explains Mandela effects, everything that's going on. The point is that The Rock has one, even though the current Rock that exists, there's a pic. I sent somebody a picture of The Rock. I follow a channel that talks about like clones and stuff, but basically they showed a before picture, like how the Rock originally looked with his hair and everything, to what The Rock looks like now, and how his body structure is different, his face, he hasn't grown hair, none of that stuff. That's not The Rock. That's a different version of The Rock. And also God sat here and has shown me, I'll talk about this in a second, and on my list that I got to read, has shown me that they do replace celebrities, that a celebrity can look a certain way up until a certain time, and then basically they either clone them or basically they replace them. They have like a double, or basically like a demon wearing a skin suit. This also is like a large loophole, because, specifically pertaining to Hollywood and that type of stuff, they can clone you. There's you, and there's you, and then there's also, mainly this is a thing with females, but when you sit here and you decide to sit here and get like surgery or something in like your face and whatnot, so they want you to look unrecognizable, that gets in the whole rituals and stuff that they do. Then there's also the fact of they have doubles, which if you don't know, celebrities don't do their own stunts. Obviously, there's only like a couple like Jackie Chan, but stunt doubles are a thing, and some people's stunt doubles have replaced them in real life. Like, I think it was like Avril Lavigne or whatever her name is. She had a stunt double that looked just like her, and the real whatever her name is that I just sat there and said, she's gone. So wanted to sit here and talk about that, say that, and then what The Rock specifically, The Rock is known, if you've seen The Rock in movies, The Rock is known for his hair, and so basically, and so now that he looks different and stuff, basically, that's not the same person. So that, and then also I got to talk about the movie they cloned Tyrone, which there's actually, I'm glad I got these screenshots on my phone, which I talk about in my community post, but basically they've done that in real life with normal people, such as Drake's baby mama and his baby. But point is, so there's that. Then there's what else is there? So I wanted to talk about that. That's a thing. The Rock has one. I know Michael Jackson has one, like multiverse people, different versions of people in different dimensions and stuff. I've basically, if you go on my community posts, I've shown basically the people the celebrities that I've seen, that I've had dreams of, that I've never ever met before in person. You just scroll through my timeline. I showed like Rhea Ripley. It was it was a chick that was in the new season of the Umbrella Academy. She was a light skinned black chick. Who else was it? There was the chick who plays Crazy Jane in the Doom Patrol. And there's Vince McMahon, and then there's like a couple other people that have like, there's different versions of people. Then obviously I talk about my doppelganger experiences. So that's a thing. But going back to the point, and then I also talked about Bernie Mac, in which case God also sat there and showed me that, I don't know, I remember seeing like clones and stuff of Bernie Mac, but I don't know. But I'm not going to sit here and claim that. But how should I say, not if, but when you see something like that, a celebrity that's dead, but then they're alive again, because now, how am I going to sit here and say this? If you see a celebrity that's been dead for a while, and all of a sudden they're alive again, like with Roseanne, how the dude who played Roseanne's husband on the Roseanne show, how basically, this is on TikTok, how basically this dude died. I remember him dying, because he was in the Roseanne show and the Flintstones, and live action. I remember watching that when I was a kid. This dude is dead. Then randomly out of nowhere on TikTok is talking about how basically, it's another reason why they want to sit here and ban TikTok. It's not because of spyware, it's because they sit here and they let you know that, yo, this stuff is real. And but they sat there and they said, I forgot the guy's name, but if you look up the Roseanne show and you look up who her husband is, that dude died. And then on TikTok was talking about how this dude randomly out of nowhere just pops up, and this guy isn't cloned, etc. None of that stuff. And Roseanne is also in that little club that, in Hollywood and stuff. And then I remember they sold their souls for rock and roll. I remember the preacher who did that, he talked about how Roseanne basically channels spirits and she thanks the devil and all this other stuff. But point is, you see where that got her now. But point is, so there's that. I've been going on this for like about almost 20 minutes now. But point is, there's that. And you see, this stuff is real. Just like with Tina Turner. Tina Turner, if I remember correctly, even though I like Tina Turner, listen to some of her music every now and then. Tina Turner died when I think I was in middle school. I was like, I'm too old to remember that. But Tina Turner died around at the same time, if I remember correctly, around the same time as Tina Marie. And when I was talking to somebody on the phone, they sat there and they told me how basically, what was it? Mother of God, sweet Jesus. How they were working with somebody. It's like freelance work or whatever the case is. They're working with somebody and they asked them, do you think, it was something about Tina Turner. And the old dude in his 50s or 60s sat there and said that Tina Turner is dead. And this was like a couple months back, way before she passed. And when she was still alive, I think. And yeah, when she was still alive. And he sat there and he told me that he wasn't going to say anything because, and this is also somebody that has a mark of the beast too. Not the person I talked to, but the person he was working for. And sat there and said, basically, Tina Turner's dead. In which case, if you only knew. And you see, there you go. And see with this whole doppelganger thing, while I sat here, this is an assumption. This ain't coming from God. This is really just an assumption. And my assumptions, aren't always right and whatnot, because, I am a person. But the point is, of all this, is that basically, pretty soon, when doppelgangers start showing up, and I've talked about my multiple experiences and how I've basically seen mine and all this other stuff. I told the situation what happened with my brother and everything. Also almost got shot twice by mine within a span of, by two of me, and within a span of 2 weeks. But that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. So I talked about that, and it's like, when people start seeing this, and I believe this is really why they stop, backtrack. When people start seeing this stuff, clones are about to sit here and go out the door. I could be wrong, I could be right, don't know. But there's that. And then there's also the fact of Also, how they sit here and they say that there's another version of you walking around or whatever the case it is. I'm gonna get to that. Well, I'm gonna mention this now before I forget. How basically I've been talking to a woman in California. I became friends with her off of Instagram, and she's a babysitter, and she told me how basically I talked about how I know I'm going everywhere, but I talked about basically in my videos, if you've been paying attention, how basically in what is it in the Doctor Strange movie that came out, as much as people sit there and say it's satanic and all this other stuff, it's like that movie was trash. That movie was like a good, like it sucked. I'm not going to sit here and rate it like on a system. It sucked. But I found out that if this multiverse thing is not real, then why in the world is CERN involved with basically with Doctor Strange? If I remember that correctly. Why in the world? There's a phrase in there that just stuck that sticks out to everybody, and people are waking up to this. And this is why I said research Project Looking Glass, because it talks about this stuff. And basically, in Doctor Strange, the famous quote is, "Dreams are portals into your multiversal selves." And I can sit here and explain that because basically you're one in the same person. Now I have some stuff that's like deep in my timeline. If you gotta like scroll all the way down, but I'll repost it. But there it is. There it is. Why are you saying that in a movie that's garbage? And when another version of you dies, they die in that world, but the dream world is different and stuff. You don't actually see, because the thing is about with dreams and whatnot, the dream world is different, even though it's a real place. It's different because it's not an actual place, if that makes sense. So when you dream of like another version of yourself in another world or whatever the case it is, what you're dreaming of is real. And the place you're probably seeing is real, but you can't physically just sit there and just go there. Which is why they do this stuff with technology and stuff, and which pretty much, when this whole superpower thing pops off, when CERN does what they does, that pops off, stuff is going to start happening, and when the veil, which is being lifted, that starts it's popping off now, but when more of it starts to happen, people will sit there and they will see themselves, in which case, there's another movie, speaking of Marvel movies, that talks about the multiverse. Well, I didn't want to watch it. I'm still not going to watch it. But it's like Quantumania with Ant-Man, which I think is like the third. Hold on. Is the third movie. And I hated the second one. The second one was everywhere. It sucked. I only like the first one. But the third one, Quantumania, quantum computers, quantum physics, anything that has to basically do with stuff is like at a molecular level or a quantum level. This gets in like physics and stuff, and basically how Quantumania, because it's so small and it's like the world that you can't see, science, that gets into like science and stuff. I'm not going to sit here and try and explain all that, and that also gets into string theory. But there's a scene in Quantumania with Ant-Man where Ant-Man is meeting multiple versions of himself. Like, why is that a thing? And then they talk about Kang the Conqueror, who's played by a black guy. That gets in like comics and stuff. Like, I hate when Hollywood, I got to talk about the what DC and Marvel in a little bit. But specifically with Quantumania, Kang the Conqueror is basically is the villain, and he's like this interdimensional person that like has different lives and stuff. And so there's that. There's that. And then there's also, what else is there? So I wanted to talk about that. That's the thing. But want to get into this but that gets into the whole Bob Barker thing about how this dude sat here and he's been dead for like, he died again. And some old dude that I saved on my Instagram was talking about how he talked about Bob Barker 3 times, and then I gotta save that on Instagram. But and the lady is talking about it's like a duet thing on Instagram. It's talking about how basically on TikTok she's talking about Bob Barker, and then the comments she's getting, and this will trip you out. The comments she's getting, and it's 2023. This isn't some old video that this lady's talking about. The current video she made a couple days ago, her comments are from 2022, from last year. So something's going on, obviously. And so there's that. Also want to sit here and talk about the fact of Don't, with all the stuff I have on my channel, my experiences and everything, if you had these experiences, let me know, comment, whatever. Um, with all these experiences that are going on, all these people that are experiencing this stuff, that are seeing this stuff, these people don't do drugs. Well, I don't know if they do drugs, but they aren't crazy. There's no glitch in the matrix. It's the fact that these people are basically trying to break the veil, or they're trying to cause hell on earth and want, they're interdimensional colonists, which I posted on my Rumble channel, which basically is something you got to watch, which basically they confirmed in court, which is why this is on my Rumble channel, and I'll repost it. Just remind me, basically of how they go from world to world and they get resources that aren't from this world. And that's how they're able to sit here and build the technology they have, and they're able to sit here and do what they can do. So there you go. It's a court thing that you got to watch, pretty much. I'm not going to sit here and explain all that. But there's that. And I also want to sit here and say, don't ever let anybody sit here and tell you that, you're crazy, the Mandela effect is demonic, or whatever the case is. I mean, technically, the Mandela effect really isn't, depending on how you look at it. That's basically God. God allows, the devil and these people, his worshipers to sit here and do whatever. But really, technically, it isn't. It's just showing you that, there's more to this world than what you think it is. And, with these creatures and stuff, demons, and, basically the stuff you see in the sky, the stuff that you see in people, and whatnot. And, the whole power thing is going to kick off pretty soon. But, the world is more than what you think it is. It's not what you've been told in school and movies and stuff and in church. There's more to this world than what you think it is. And it also is explained in the Bible, but then, the Bible can only sit here and explain so much. Which also want to sit here and say that, want to sit here and talk about the fact that since the multiverse is real, you should also have within your mind, if pray to God about this, because God has told me this and I have no reason to sit here and lie, that basically every dimension has their own version of the Bible. Well, every dimension has their own every dimension has a Bible, right? We have a Bible, and imagine like hundreds of thousands of worlds that have a Bible. But in those worlds, since they are different, the people look different, things are different, the laws of physics and everything, it says different things. Now, and this is where confusion and stuff step in when you sit here and you start arguing with people, because when you get into this type of stuff, because you get into people how they have their own translations of basically the Bible, how they want to edit the Bible, then then it also gets into how basically they're making artificial intelligence write the Bible now officially, which is why you should have a Bible. Because now I remember reading something about how basically they're teaching AI, even though AI isn't demonic, there can be a ghost in the machine, reading between that. There's that. And how, since they're editing it and what they're about to sit here and pull what they want to pull, that basically, that's why these arguments and stuff get started. And then they're making AI sit here and write that God is accepting of transgenders and stuff. They're writing transgenderism and a new Bible they want to do. And then also they're rewriting, I think, not just the Bible, but other religious texts over in China, and rewriting them. And so there's that. I also want to sit here and explain that specifically that also wanted to course correct something I said in my one of my previous videos about Moses having horns. I actually was wrong on that. A correction. That was actually a mistranslation on the guy who basically who interpreted Moses with horns. That's mistranslated in Greek or whatever other language. So that's my fault. But the other part of where it says "do not judge unless ye should be judged," I'm probably butchering that. And then it's how it says in the Bible that there are multiple heavens. That verse, specifically that verse, that is in another world. I had a dream basically about a couple of weeks ago. I know it's been like months, weeks. A couple of weeks ago, where basically I was dreaming, and And I was dreaming, and basically I heard the Bible verse, that there are many heavens, specifically that there are many heavens. It says that right in the New Testament in the Bible. It's not in the Old Testament. I'm pretty sure it's in the New Testament. And basically the words were just floating over my head. It's something I can't even really describe. And that Bible verse and that version of the Bible, or specifically that verse, that's somewhere else. It disappears, and then it ends up somewhere else in another timeline. So there's that. I'm getting into this stuff in a minute. I want to talk about this for a second. There's that. And then I also heard a Bible verse. This sounds crazy, but a Bible verse from another world. And over in DC Comics, I'm not going to try and sit here and bore you to death and explain this, because if I did, it would be a long thing. But Marvel and DC Comics, if you look up like how they have Earth 616 and all that other stuff, and DC Comics is like completely different, but the way they have it in DC Comics, their world is structured, so the numbers that they have for their worlds and stuff, it's like organized and everything. It's like a long story. I would have to do a TikTok and explain this for days, but that's actually a thing. Even though the multiverse is infinite, God actually has like certain worlds and stuff numbered. So we were hearing something about like Earth 2, and God has also sat there and shown me worlds he's basically destroyed and worlds that he's blown up, because judgment came and whatnot. Also want to sit here and say that this isn't blasphemous what I'm about to say, because somebody sent me a video of this, but basically somebody sent me a video of basically a white guy. He was talking about what the angels showed him in different dimensions and all this other stuff, and the angels showed him I don't know if the angels did, but he said in his testimony, I'm not going to even go search for it because we have like a long thread in my phone, but the guy was talking about how Jesus wasn't a carpenter in another world. Jesus is a carpenter in this world, but in another world he's not, because once again this goes into multiverse movies. The people are different. The guy, I was a white guy, he sat there and he said basically since the people aspire to be holy, righteous, and do the right thing, and they don't want to live in sin anymore, and they're thoroughly seeking God, Jesus came, that was it, and it was a wrap. Jesus came, they already wanted to do righteous, they wanted to live holy, they were repenting and everything. Jesus came, and there you go, world saved. And you see, the multiverse. And then what else did that guy say? I'm trying to sit here and think. It was that. And so, it was that. And then, how people think of forever, the angel sat there and showed him, what the people look like, basically, when forever came, and forever is something you can't really wrap your mind around, and trust me, I've seen it. But so there's that. Hold on, I'm not trying to log out of this. Okay, yeah, so there's that. And so there you go. That's not to sound blasphemous or anything. This is just, the facts. This is real. Pray about this and whatnot. I would never sit here and lie to people about stuff and whatnot. You've been following me for a while. I don't have a reason to sit here and lie to you when literally outside of me talking and ranting, which, that could be like a 50-50 thing of me being wrong or right. Everything I've sat here and I've said dreams and visions that have come from God, basically, they're all happening. They're all happening. And even though I have an opinion and whatnot, my opinion can be wrong or whatever, they're all happening. All the dreams and visions that God has told me, literally it's happening right now. I sat here and I said something, I remember when basically I sat there when my mom had her house. Sat there and talked about how basically, it was something I saw a Kappa. I was awake. I had a vision of basically seeing a Kappa walking. And God just wanted to sit there and put that in my spirit. And then I talked about some months ago, I don't know if it was this year or last year, because I've been being shown a lot of stuff, how basically God just wanted to sit there. And I posted my community post how basically I saw a curtain, God pulled the curtain back, and it was about basically the veil. And now you're sitting over here seeing, which getting into this topic, now you're seeing, sorry for raising my voice, if I'm raising my voice and whatnot, it's because I also had like a sinus infection, which I had that like last month. It's a thing with my sinuses where it affected like my hearing and stuff. But it was like real bad. But point is, but now this supernatural stuff that you're seeing, I posted a picture of a skull in the sky. Cloud demons and spirits and stuff are a thing. So that's a thing, and I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I forgot to sit here and say that after I took a picture of that and I rebuked it in the name of Jesus, that cloud disappeared. But point is, that's a thing, where clouds follow people, no UFOs, no technology, none of that stuff. That's a thing, I know it talks about, the sky and the air and whatnot in the Bible. Butchering that, probably butchering that. So correct me on that. But it does talk about this because my Bible's in storage, and I'm not about to sit here and buy one from the store because I'm just not. And then I haven't read the Bible in like 2-3 years now, but I know most of it by heart. But point is, which all the stuff going on, you actually are going to have to know the Bible by heart, or at least bits and pieces of it. But point is, I'm gonna get into that in a second. But with all this stuff going in, that's in the sky, right? All this stuff that is in the sky. I've posted 2 videos, right? I gotta do a compilation if I ever see that again. I've been seeing stuff on, not just on, people send me stuff from TikTok, but I've been seeing stuff on Instagram on my reels. And so, on 2 separate occasions, and this is why I'm getting real sick and tired of. This is why I talked about a long time ago my phrase, fear over God. Fog is an acronym for fog. I forgot what I said because my memory's been like everywhere, and I even forgot stuff that I even sat here and said, 2-3 years ago. It's just like a lot of stuff was going on in my life. But fog, fear over God. Don't let the fog consume you. Don't walk into the fog. Don't allow the fog to lure you in and for you to get lost in the fog. And speaking of which, a crazy part. Now let me stand up for a second. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Whew, man. Specifically with that, there's actually on an anime, not an anime, but I know it's the sequel to Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's with Korra, and I don't know, and one of the seasons, because I think there's like 4 or 5 seasons and whatnot. With Korra, there's actually a scene where people can get lost in this mysterious fog, and it causes them to wander off and act crazy and be delusional, and it gives them delusions and stuff. Don't let that be you. And there's also fog movies, in real life and whatnot, where the fog, basically demons come out and, people go crazy and stuff. But in the Korra, The Last Airbender, or whatever it was called, because I'm too old to even, too old to remember. There you go. So there's that. Don't let this stuff scare you, because, all this stuff has to happen, all of it has to play out and everything. But at the same time, what was the point? What was the point of that? My point was that don't let this stuff overwhelm you. Don't give power to this stuff, and don't glorify the devil more than glorifying God. Because when you do that, that's when you fall into the fog. Want to sit here and say that now, since all this stuff is popping off, that people are talking about Project Bluebeam. Even though Project Bluebeam is a thing, and God sat here and told me a long time ago, years ago, about like some fake rapture that they're going to try and do, which, watch my videos, or if you see stuff on Instagram or TikTok, that actually now that they've announced that aliens are real, that's just their way of saying demons are real, that now this is a thing. And fun fact, by the way, how this is biting them in the butt. This is why Project Looking Glass is so important. Because with Project Looking Glass, they have a computer that sits here and tells them calculations, why they come up with string theory, go here, there, and whatnot. With Project Looking Glass, they have a quantum computer. It's like when you see in comic books and cartoons and stuff, they have a talking computer that talks to them and tells them the outcome of what they're doing. And so basically, why it came up with the term interdimensional columns is because, they're in... It's not people anymore. These are interdimensional beings. They go from world to world, colonizing, destroying, killing, and destroying. Some of these worlds they can't get to. Some of these, since it's so infinite, they don't know about, they can't get to, which is why I also have a hit on my head. And there you go. Want to sit here and come out with the term, I say interdimensional colonists, because even though this was settled in court, you know, what they do with the technology and stuff. I say the term interdimensional colonist because, mother of God, is because with Project Looking Glass, they try and to escape God's judgment. And with Project Looking Glass, the computer tells them, or, you know, people that have worked with this stuff for real, even though people want to sit here and say that, you know, this isn't real, whatever, yeah, miss me with it. Even though there's documents for this stuff, people that have worked with this and all the evidence is out there, even in the films, movies, TV shows, and the cartoons, books are different. But point is, it's even in the Illuminati card game that they control science fiction. If you have an idea, like Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever the case is, an original IP, there's a card, I think, called We Own It Now, basically, right? And if they don't own it, they're going to sit there and kill you for it because they know that what they can do with it. There's that. What did he sit here and talk about that for a second? There's that, and then what else was there? There's that. And I know there's that. So there's that. Yeah. So they can sit here and try and escape God's judgment. And so, which is inevitable. But point is, so what else was there? Yeah. And so the whole Shinron thing, how that with the dragon and stuff, literally looks like Shinron from Dragon Ball Z. So hold on. There's people here and stuff, but there's that. And then what else was there? There's that. That's real. And then I know it's not fake and whatnot, because in the first video I posted, it was like in broad daylight, and a guy saw it recording, and yeah, I think it was about the rain or something. Yeah, it was broad daylight. And then in the second video, the second instance, there's a couple, I guess the dude is recording, and his wife is talking about how she sees a dragon in the sky. And if you actually pay attention to that video, it's actually getting closer to the earth. In which case, I told somebody this a couple like yesterday or a couple days ago, how basically in Mayan or Aztec lore legends, you know, stuff is real. How basically Quetzalcoatl is a winged dragon with wings. And it has like it's like rainbow colors and stuff, if I remember correctly. So there you go. What else I want to sit here and talk about pertaining to the sky? I know the sky is lava, and also I want to sit here at literally lava. But there's that, and then there's also the fact of how some dude some pastor I used to follow that was talking about stuff. He was talking about he had some ignorant white dude on that was talking about saying that this whole multiverse thing and all this other stuff isn't real, and all this other, the pure ignorance. And yet literally I unsubscribed from him and everything, and then literally right after I unsubscribed from him, I ended up finding out, I posted those pictures of basically the sky being green and people seeing that the sky is green. So you can sit here and you can miss me with it. And then I've talked about how basically showed a picture of the sky where I worked at, and how basically never really even sat here and mentioned it. But the only reason why I even took a video of the sky is because literally I saw the reflection of red where I was at one of my jobs, and I was just like, you know, that isn't really normal. And so and that's how I knew basically the sky was different colors, and like the sky was split in half. On one part of where I was at, it was going to rain, and then on the other part, the sky was like 5 different colors, and the sun was setting. And it's, you know, like 9, I think it's like close to 9 p.m. is when it starts to get dark. And, you know, why is the sun literally in the distance? And then half the sky is like split in half. So there you go. And there's also another video of like, I think is like some chick from TikTok cut out some of her stuff because she believes in new age nonsense. How she was talking about how people are seeing stuff with the sky, and how there's a movie and this is why they don't want you looking up. There's a movie called Don't Look Up. Why they tell you this stuff in plain sight? Don't look up. Why shouldn't you look up? Because if you saw what was in the sky, you would know what was going on. In which case, I don't know if you pay attention to people around you, but you should really be looking at the sky. And it's abnormal, literally. So there's that. And then also wanted to talk. This is where I talk about the stuff on my on this paper I got, even though it's only been like 40 minutes because I was supposed to go through this and whatnot. But funny how God works. But literally funny how God works. But so had a dream today. My dream was weird. I'm not gonna tell you the ending of my dream because the ending of my dream was weird. But the part of my dream that made sense is that basically I was in my old house when I was back in, I was back in Wisconsin, my old house that I grew up in. It was a duplex. And I was at my old house and I saw these people I used to talk to, but because of my situation, I blocked them. They never really messaged me, talked to me about anything and whatnot. God gave me like prior to I think before my house got sold or whatever, God told me that the dude that I reached out to, he did try helping me because I did have an anonymous person that donated like $100. So I guess God won't ever be able to confirm this, but God sat here and told me that, he tried helping out, whereas like everybody else he asked for didn't want to help out. So I had a dream about these people, and I was in the house and everything, and I started running because I was just like, what? I started running and everything. And then what else was it? That happened. Literally ran outside the house, and then I on the street, his wife, which I think they're on their second kid now, his wife was outside. The dude just talked about just disappeared randomly, and she was outside, and she literally met another version of herself on the street, face to face, and she met another version of herself face to face. And she also, but the thing is that was different about her because, the whole multiverse thing and decisions and all this other stuff. The difference was that she wasn't with the guy I knew. And the dude literally, not the dude, but the dude she was with was a black guy. And I guess eventually, she was with a black guy. But it was her, and she was meeting herself. And then when she met herself, I guess she touched herself or something, and then she ended up having a baby. She was holding the baby in her arms, which I have no idea what that means. But while all this stuff was going on, literally, I'm not even joking. This is symbolic for some, not for something, but for God's promises. Financial, stability and all this other stuff. Because I am struggling financially. Which I'm not going to get into that. It's been irritating the living crap out of me. Literally, how the rainbow represents God. Literally, look, while all that was happening, as soon as I, left the house and, ran and whatnot, when she met herself, it was rain. I'm not making this up. It was raining Skittles. And it was raining change, coins, nickels, dimes, quarters, and whatnot. And I had a bag in my hand for whatever reason. There's two. There's not a grocery bag, but when you go to a store, when they put it's like a retail bag and whatnot. It was a paper bag, with the hooves around it and whatnot. And had a big bag of that. And then there's a small bag too. And it was raining. It was raining Skittles and change nonstop from the sky. And I sat there and I was just like, wait, what? I was like, what? And because I was conscious in my dream, wait, what? And the bag just kept getting filled with Skittles and change and everything. And now, obviously, this is a pun on this guy having, the God sense of humor, and, only something that I would recognize. That's God. The rainbow represents God's promise. And, God, that's God saying that I'm keeping my promise, and you are going to experience this and see this, and you are going to have financial stability and all this other stuff and whatnot. And so there you go. And then also too, the fact that, people are going to be meeting themselves. So there you go. Yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy. So there you go. What was I going to sit here and talk about? There's that. I wanted to talk about this. I think it's the same person. Yeah, the same person I mentioned that's a babysitter that I became friends with. She stays in California, and how basically, woman I met, I prophesied over her, which it came to pass, and it's going to. Prophesied because she takes care of 2 autistic kids and whatnot in California, and she told me that, God does miraculous things, puts you in people's lives for a reason. She told me how basically every time she dreams, sometimes when she dreams, she can fly. And I sat here and told her what an angel of the Lord sat here and told me. Well, they told me twice, but I'm not going to go into the second one. But they basically sat here and they told me, and I told her that, when you're flying in your dreams using superpowers and you see yourself with superpowers, it means that you are actually using them in real life. And that's the skill set that God's going to give you. And, probably more, when things pop off and, when zombies and stuff are happen, which they're already here. But when they officially happen and whatnot, I'm different because I'm part of the whole 144,000. So that's different. I get my glorified body and everything before everybody else. I have no idea how everybody else works out. That's just stuff that, from my assumption, from what God has told me, God has shown me. And so I can't speak for everybody else that isn't, not saying that isn't 144,000, if that makes sense. Because I'm number 3. I've talked about before multiple times how basically I used to be like 1,000 something, and then gradually I went up, and now I'm number 3. And then God also sat here and told me that basically when the whole shift change thing happens, and I'm going to get into this, when the whole shift change thing happens, basically I'll go up a level, and I'll be number 2. So literally, and I also want to sit here and say this, I didn't plan on making it this long, man, how I want to sit here and say this about how, even though I'm number 3, the top 4 of the 144,000, 1 and 2 are a man. I know I saw white people, so I'm just going to sit here and I saw people, but they were white. I don't know if that, it's just a sign of people. Number 1 and 2 were men, and they were white people. Don't know if they're actually white or not, don't care, but this is what I saw. I'm number 3, and number 4, which is where I used to be at, number 4 is a female, and I have no idea what she is. I don't know if she's white or what, but there you go. And so there you go. So that is a thing. What else was there? I talked about the whole Power Ranger thing, which is on my community post. What the hell? Excuse my language, but what in the world? I'm under a tree. So there's that. And then I talked about that Power Ranger thing with the Red Ranger stuff. And on my community post, which you got to scroll through, I had a picture of that and how God basically showed me that, you're a leader, I'm in charge and whatnot. Had another one, I think after that, never really talked about it, how basically it was something having to deal with the Green Ranger. And then I looked up what a Green Ranger meant, because you can look up the meaning of like, what color does this ranger mean? Blue, black, and green. From the original, even though, the American version, not the Japanese version, but the American version, blue, black, and green, they're second in command. And so, have no idea what that means, but I just got the Green Ranger in my dream once. So, there you go. So, there's that. There's a whole 144,000 thing and whatnot. And so, yeah, going back to that. So basically, if you've had dreams and visions of, I would say dreams, and basically you using your powers in your dreams, that's the skill set that God is going to give you and how you're going to be using them in real life. Members will be able to do. Basically, we can give powers out to people, because I keep getting dreams about basically God's going to give me this stuff. And as soon as he gives them to me, I'm literally giving people powers and I'm recruiting people. So there you go. But going back to this person, I told her about that, and she told me how basically, how when she was dreaming, it would feel like when she would wake up, because she listens to the Bible, when she would wake up, how basically it felt like she was actually flying. And I would sit there and I told her over the phone that you've basically, even though you're in a dream, you haven't done that like physically, you did that in the dream world. So basically, it's the equivalent of you doing it how you would do in real life. I had to sit here and correct myself. So there's that. And she's also sat here and told me about how I talked about the whole Doctor Strange multiverse thing, how she keeps having this reoccurring dream. And, this person is married, has been married for almost 20 years and has one kid with the dude she's with. And what to talk about this, the guy she's married to, even though she's a babysitter, she sat here and she told me how her husband, every week or every day, this gets into string theory, the decisions you make, and, the multiverse is infinite and all the other stuff from what God has told me. that literally these are her words, that every day or every week now her husband is having deja vu, and deja vu finally can sit here and debunk it. Basically gets into the multiverse. Since you make decisions every single day of your waking life, you are always, I'm not going to sound new age when I sit here and I say this, because I can, even though I can back this up, but every single day you're making decisions, every single day, that are leading you to, I guess, like you're stepping into like another world. Or if you're the same, this is hard to explain, really hard to explain, but since there are multiple versions of you, whether they're, if they're alive, the version of you that exists, that is making, that's thinking about a decision, since you basically live inside of each other, from what I've been shown, or something, I don't know. I can't really explain that part, but her husband is having deja vu, and he's always saying, I feel like we've done this before. I feel like I've been here before. Deja vu is ties into the whole multiverse thing, and depending on who you are, what type of person you are, I'm not going to even say that. I'm not going to even say that. Because it's weird. It's like you're all connected, even if it's like a bad version of you. You're all connected because you're the same person, and you all have a human soul, but you all make decisions in your life. So if you're a good person, and even though sin is a thing, even if you sat there and you took that out the equation, since you're a person and you decide to sit here and do something, basically, that's how you get deja vu, if that makes a lick of sense. I'm not trying to sound new age or nothing. But that's just how I interpret it. It's still hard for me to sit here and explain. But she told me that, and then we were talking on the phone last week, and she sat here and she told me how basically before she got married, some years ago, how basically, this is like before she met her husband, how she would go on dates with people, searching for her husband and stuff, and they would always sit there and tell her that the friend that died, and this is her exact words, like 2 or 3 people that she went on a date with, or she was going on a date with and whatnot, their friend had passed, and they looked exactly like her. No joke. These are her words. Have no reason to sit here and lie to you. So there you go. That phrase, there's another version of you like out in the world. And if you actually do look up pictures of like, real life doppelgangers, no clones, no new age stuff, none of that crap. There are actual people that have literally met other versions of themselves, and they look exactly alike. Different parents, different background, different everything, and they look exactly like each other. I actually saw a black chick, speaking of which, a black chick, because there are people that look like celebrities, which is why stunt doubles are a thing. But there's this black chick. I sent one of my managers, which she's my friend now. She's a Drew Barrymore fan, and this black chick literally looks like Drew Barrymore, but she's black. Swear to God. What the heck? Okay, see, that's why. That is a, okay, that's a thing. Oh my God. What the? Okay, that was just a worm. Okay, I'm going to be standing up now. So, that was just a worm. Not a worm, but a caterpillar. But, so, there you go. And then, but going, not just with that, but going into, of what the lady was telling me, there's that. And then she also told me like decisions she's made, like, Hawaii, how she's a babysitter. I guess she babysits for a living, but she has like a degree in like other stuff, and that's just like her calling and stuff. But paranoid, because I got something on me. But she told me how she's going to be going to Hawaii like years ago, way before this whole Maui thing happened. Years ago, way before she met her husband, and how she was packed all her stuff, whatever the case it was. Her job was going to be a nanny over in Hawaii, and she said that the lady she was babysitting for, she found out that the dude was cheating on his wife, and so the wife sat there and said that we don't need you anymore, because she was filing for a divorce and everything. And basically, we were talking. She sat there and she said, "Well, there's another version of me that that went to Hawaii and that was successful." So there you go. So there you go. So there's that. Um, there's that. Um, there's that. And then also sat there and told her, and I've been talking to her about the whole shift change thing. Mother of God, the whole shift change thing. I sat there and I told her how basically what God told me like 2-3 years ago, how basically which I had the whole Skittles rank coming down from the sky and change dream, God's promise and stuff. And this is like, I think like last week. Yeah, this is like last week or 2 weeks ago. Probably last week or 2 weeks ago. But point is, mother of God, sat there and told her that, how basically, you go to sleep one day and you'll wake up somewhere new, long story short. And I went to sleep. Had like 4.5 hours of sleep before I had to be at work at like 8 in the morning. And literally, I kid you not, that went to sleep. God gave me a dream about her, and I sat there and had a dream about her, and basically she woke up somewhere new. She was in a different house and everything, but the two autistic kids she was taking care of, they were there with her because her mom, her mom or her parents, the autistic kids, they're like, I think like they got the mark of the beast when they were babies and stuff, so they're like autistic now, and how they had it in their system. And so what was my point of this? Mother of God. But God literally sat there, and this is why I sat there and said, like, there are certain things, I'm going to get into this for a second. There are certain things with this whole mark of the beast thing that are an exception. Like one of them is basically if you're a baby, a baby, a child that can't consent, can't think for themselves, can't consent to making a decision. Obviously, because you're a baby, and you see they got their mother gave it to them when they were kids, which is why they are also autistic. So there you go. The point is that I told her that I had a dream about her waking up somewhere else, but those kids that she was babysitting were with her, and she just woke up somewhere new, and she woke up shocked and all surprised and everything. And she told me, no, not she told me, and she said the word she sat there and she said was that, Paul's a prophet, and that was it. And I woke up, and then, God told me that, when that happens, I'll go up a notch or whatever. But the point is, and then also remember hearing a dude mad that I was like went up a notch to like number 2 and stuff. So, but don't care. God told me that anybody that tries to sit here and come against me anyway, he's going to literally drive them crazy, or he's literally going to get rid of them. I'm not going to say, wow, or he's going to get rid of them, Old Testament style. So there you go, in which that actually has happened to people that have tried to, oppose me and stuff. But point is, so there's that. So that happened. And then what was it? I was sleeping on. I want to talk about this. I'm gonna go through this real quick because this is about to almost be like 2 hours long. This is like an hour already. But was sleeping on my uncle's couch, and lo and behold, what was it? Lo and behold, that happened. Not what that happened, but I went to sleep on my uncle's couch. Hold on. Oh God. No. Went to sleep on my uncle's couch. And like how God sat there and told me you'll wake up somewhere new, and you'll go to sleep one day and wake up somewhere new. Literally, I kid you not, it was in broad. I don't even think it was like daylight yet. I think the sun was coming up. I went to sleep on my uncle's couch. I'm sleeping on my uncle's couch, and literally, since God has shown me there are multiple versions of me going through the same thing. There's another version of me. I'm not making this up when I say this. When I say this, literally, not making this up. I went to sleep, and I woke up in another version, in my doppelganger's body. So even though we're the same person, we're connected and stuff. I woke up in his body, and I just saw it. I was like, through his perspective, I just saw what he was doing and stuff. And so the guy was on a date, because I actually quit using dating apps because I had was in a dark period in my life. Saw that the dude was he was on Bumble, right? I'm not making this up. He was on Bumble, he was what was he doing? Had his phone out. He was on Bumble. He met some chick named Stephanie. I think she wasn't black. I think she was like either like she was dark skinned, that had brown skin. I don't know if she was like Hispanic, Latino, or basically Middle Eastern or whatever, or Hindi. But she had brown skin, and she was a plus size chick. Literally, date goes bad. And not to cuss or anything, but it was absolutely disgusting. I woke up in his body. He was at the pool and everything. There was people around him and stuff. And then literally, I kid you not when I say this, the chick he was on a date with sat there and literally, how can I say it? I don't even want to sit here and say it like this sounds disgusting. But literally, the lady just shits in the pool. Literally. And it's not brown, it's green. People were freaking out and everything. And the dude sat there and said, "This is disgusting." There's like more details to it and stuff. Because I guess he had like figurines and stuff and whatnot. Yeah, he did. And lady just sits here, shits in the pool. There's green shit everywhere. And people are freaking out, flipping out, getting out of the pool. And Shorty is still swimming in it. And I literally, when I mean, most of this stuff isn't on my mind. Dude sits there, swipes his phone, unmatches, and reports her and leaves. And all I remember is that basically her name was Stephanie, and I think she had like dark skin hair, and she was still swimming in it. Not making this up, have no reason to sit here and make this up. And that's why I sat here wanted to warn you of me cussing and whatnot. And you see, there you go. And so that was a thing. And then I woke up back on my uncle's couch. So there you go. I have no reason to sit here and make this stuff up because I mean it's in the movies and TV shows and the cartoons and stuff that I've talked about. It's even what I had a community post where basically the whole Crisis on Infinite Earths, which they made into a TV show, which is trash, but the comic book was better, which with Superman splitting in half. And so there you go. And so, all in which case, even though they do stuff with comic books, and DC Comics was the first to come up with the idea of the multiverse. They came out with that way before anybody else coined the term. And then on top of that, what else was it? It was that, and now the term in recent comic book news, I don't know if you were the person watching this is a comic book fan or not, but in recent comic book news, instead of the multiverse, they coined a new term called the omniverse. Omni, which short for omnipotent, meaning it is infinite. That there was that, and then what else was there? There's that. So there's that. I'll talk about the whole Marvel DC thing in a second. So there's that. So they know. And it's also in the Illuminati card game of comic books and how they've taken possession of comic books. Comic books are still a good thing and whatnot. Not everything's demonic. Don't be religious about stuff and everything. Not every artist and writer is into like the occult, is trying to push some gay agenda, none of that stuff. Like it's a comic book. It's art. It's about the people that are controlling it. So, which I want to sit here and get into the whole Blue Beetle thing, but I'm going to get into that later. So, there's that. So, there's that. I'll talk about that in a second. I'll come back to those two in a second. Want to sit here and talk about how I posted something about Mountain Dew in my community post, and how with that in Pacific, the whole Maui incident and how they had it on the can, and they talked about the darkness. Somebody, I got it on my phone, the screenshot. Somebody sent me a picture of basically how they have it's called Red. I think it's called Red Dragon. It's art for the new Mountain Dew or whatever. It's called Red Dragon, and it literally looks like some Godzilla. What is it? It's not Godzilla. Some Godzilla. I think it's like Gamera monster, because Gamera is the one that looks like a turtle, and it's the color red. That came out some months ago. And currently, as of now, if you don't know this, now you know, They literally, the real origin of Godzilla in the older movies, because Godzilla has gotten bigger over years. In the original movies, they talked about his origin and how basically the reason why Godzilla came to be Godzilla and how big he is because the government, Japan, the government, America, whatever, basically leaked out radiation to some prehistoric dinosaur, lizard or dinosaur, whatever it was. And that's how you got Godzilla. Currently, I'm literally living in a movie. Currently, since Japan stores up nuclear waste, nuclear radiation. I'm not joking about this. You can look this up. Japan sat here and poured it into the ocean. And the reason why they sat there and they did that, and I call bullcrap. The reason why their excuse is that the reason why they had to sit here and get rid of the nuclear waste and the nuclear radiation and pour it into the ocean is because if they kept it at the facility that they keep all their radiation at, they wouldn't be able to hold it anymore. So what better place to dump it than what up, man? And than the ocean. When literally, and this is Japan. When I just told you the origin of Godzilla is them dumping radiation, and they know, and they wherever that radiation went or wherever it's going, even though they want to kill all life on this, in the multiverse and on this planet, wherever it went, they either that because in what was it in the Godzilla movies, Godzilla can feed off of radiation, and people sit here and say how Godzilla is the Leviathan. Well, guess what? If you go into cryptids and mythology and you get into like lake sea monsters, specifically sea monsters, and that gets into like H.P. Lovecraft with Cthulhu and stuff, which, fun fact, if you see the octopus, an octopus isn't satanic, right? It gets into the marine kingdom, and the marine kingdom is in the Bible. It's with Dagon, and the book of Enoch, it's with sirens, and then there's the Leviathan, the marine kingdom. There are demons that operate on the earth, and I think, what was it called? Mother of God. I'm not going to even sit here and talk. I know it's a Leviathan, and then it's something else that's on the land that the Bible talks about. The Leviathan is in the sea, and then something else is on the land. I forgot the name of it, but I know it's in the Bible. But in the ocean, if you look real deep into cryptids and stuff, there's mermaids, sirens, there's creatures like Dagon. I don't know if Cthulhu is real, but I wouldn't be surprised since H.P. Lovecraft was involved with something. He was alive when Aleister Crowley was around, and he also dropped the beans in the 20s and the 30s on reptilians, which Behemoth. Okay, so there you go. And then on the land, there's Behemoth. So the kingdom of darkness has a structure. And they also operate in the water, in which God has also sat here and shown me in another some of my dreams. There's a video, I want to mention this too, Mother of God. There's a video, this platform pisses me off. I've been off for last week I was off for 5 days. I don't know if it wasn't on Instagram, because on Instagram I can check my activity and see what I liked. I came across something on the marine kingdom that was real important that God sat here and told me about. Sirens and mermaids are real. They're actual spirits. They're succubuses, incubuses, depending on how you look at it. And sirens and mermaids are like somewhat the same species, but they're different. And I posted on Rumble, even though I posted this stuff, I have a compilation of sirens and mermaids. The fisherman that came across that, when the siren told him to jump off the boat, God told me in a dream that they can walk on land. So look up TV shows when you get done watching this whole thing. There are TV shows about sirens. Not mermaids, but sirens, because they're the same thing, but different species. Sirens, I guess there's levels to them or whatever the case is, but there's a TV show about sirens and how these sirens basically they come on land and they can literally look like normal people. Mainly they're women, because in mythology the sirens are women that kill men and stuff. And God told me this some months ago, and I ended up finding this video where this black guy was talking about the marine kingdom, and I guess I think it was in a church or something, and how the chick who was talking, it was a black lady. The chick who was talking, she sat there and she said, I think she was either a siren or a mermaid, but she had no fins, no gills, none of that crap. She looked like an actual person. And she was talking about how she hates humans or whatever the case it is. I can't find it to save my life. My history, because I don't know if you got this, if people have this problem on YouTube, but when I type in certain words, now if I go to my history, I can only get stuff from like months ago or like years ago or whatever, whereas like compared to if I click the history button and I just keep scrolling, I can't sit here and I can't look what I looked at for the past, week. I was off for like 5 days for the week, so I can't find that video. But I'm not making this up when I sit here and I tell this to you. So I want to sit here and say that they're real. That people talk about reptilians, gray aliens, and all this other crap. Sirens are real. They walk on land and they look like normal people. They're mainly women. Mer people is a different thing. Mer people can refer to men and women, but they are a thing. And they are aware of the fact that I exist. So which they hate my guts. But there you go. And so that's what Dagon is, if I think I remember it, because the logo for Starbucks is a mermaid, and I think Dagon was like half fish, half man, and that's called mer people. If you watch Little Mermaid. So, and also another thing is too, also pay attention. I forgot to mention this with the whole multiverse thing. Pay real close attention to entertainment. What comes out, video games, TV shows, cartoons, whatever the case it is. If it's Japan, it's like a different story. Japan is like out there. But I was talking to somebody, that same lady that was a babysitter, on the phone, and I sat there and I told her that if you pay real close attention to entertainment now, how people want to sit here and say the multiverse is demonic and all this other crap, which that's a lie. It tells you in the first words in the first chapter of the Bible in Genesis, it tells you plural that God made the heavens and the earth. Heavens, Heavens. Heavens is plural, for there are many heavens. Literally, not making this up. And so, and which goes in the fact that there are multiple heavens, and heaven is different. And so, God also sat here and almost showed me that, but my cousin and my uncle woke me up. But the point is, getting back to the point, my point is, what was my point? Mother of God. My point is that this is real. And pertaining to, the multiverse, the entertainment stuff, pay real close attention to the entertainment that comes out, because if you notice, years ago, they will always push an entertainment about, they'll be real low key about, the multiverse stuff. That's like a comic book thing that DC and Marvel do. And maybe, it's mainly like, because DC and Marvel are real good at that stuff. The Umbrella Academy is like an independent thing that came out from Dark Horse, so that's a different story. But the past couple years, let's say like in the span of like 10 years, right? Go journey back 10 years if you're older than 28 or the same age as me. They chilled out and they stopped producing and making stuff that involved past lives, which I'm about to sit here and debunk this right now. The reason why the devil sits here and comes out with past lives is because the multiverse is real. You know how they sit here and say that, oh, you existed in this time period or whatever the case it is and whatnot. Well, guess what? That's a lie. Once you die, God has shown me that, once you die, this version of me dies, like I die and I go to, I either go to heaven or I go to hell. I was about to say I go to hell. What? No. You die. So if another version of you sits here and dies, they die for real and they go wherever heaven and hell is at. The reason, that's why past lives exist for that also goes into the Garden of Eden thing. And so, that's why. But the last, my brain doesn't go back that far because I was in high school. That's why they stopped making and mentioning anything that has past lives. You were this version, and whatnot. They don't produce it anymore. And as you know, for the past 5-6 years, they've been basically shoving the multiverse down people's throats because they know what time it is. They know this dimension, this world is ending, and that they know time is up. And you see, that's why pay attention to this stuff. Because the multiverse really debunks past lives. The truth is the multiverse. The lies, past lives. And I also posted something about how in the Flash TV show, what was it? It was a Flash TV show. I think the guy's name was Harrison Welsh. I got to repost it on my timeline. Harrison Welsh, I don't know if that's the Reverse Flash, basically, whatever his real name is. After they killed the original, they're searching, I know this is in the second or third season, they're searching for another version of the Reverse Flash, a good version of him that never became Reverse Flash. And they're using CERN or Fallen Angel technology, and I gotta repost that because I vaguely remember that. That was like so long ago. But literally, they're telling you this in entertainment. And as a comic book fan, I want to debunk this now. In the Flash TV show, they pick out in order. They got this machine that sits here and can like that shows like Harrison Welsh is like alive, right? But he exists in different time periods in the multiverse, in time, because time is infinite. You can't measure time. Literally, that's why God, it says in the Bible, a day is like 1,000 years to God. Time is infinite. You can't measure time. It's impossible. Literally, is impossible. Oh, man. But they did that in the TV show, and there's like different versions of him. I think one is like alive in the London period, and then there's like other versions of him that are like that exist in different time periods, but they were able to sit here since that version of the Reverse Flash died, whatever his real name is, totally forgot, don't care. They were able to sit here and closely get another version of him that knew exactly could invent stuff and do everything in their timeline, and they just snatched this guy up and basically just teleported him from his dimension to their dimension. And this is what I talk about, how there are versions of you that exist like at the same time. It's hard to explain. I gotta post it in my community post. It's a visual thing, and also God has to sit here and visit you and show you this stuff. I ain't got a reason to sit here and lie to people. And that's what they did in that TV show. Now I'm gonna tell you the truth, and this goes into the whole I'm gonna talk at Blue Beetle and Wolverine in a second. The whole sweet Jesus, the whole comic book thing, because they recently came out with Blue Beetle. That movie pissed me off, because what they do with comic books is they take the source material and they demonize it. So how you had the Henry Cavill version of basically Superman, where basically if you journey back into Superman, anybody that has played Superman before Henry Cavill, Tom Welling, who I met in person, Tom Welling, I know the Christopher Reeves and different versions of Superman. They were this light-hearted Superman and everything. And then with Superman, it really depends on who's writing it and whatnot with the stories. But bear with me for a second. I'm not nerding out. This is like to extend upon my thought. It's like Superman, like in the comics, the characters are hit and miss. Everybody has an interpretation of that character, right? Whether it's good, bad, evil, doesn't matter. A writer is writing this. But in the comics, like how they sat here and they brought the Reverse Flash, whatever his real name is, from another world, the way they displayed it visually on TV and everything, that's not in the comic books. That is not in the comic books. And I follow comic book channels and everything. Most of you get what the Flash is basically him going back in time, and they talk about the multiverse and all this other stuff. And I think the other one was like called Flashpoint and whatnot. They had a DC movie about that. But point is, even that is not in the cartoon, the animated movie. It's not there. They just added that to push their agenda. They're to low key tell you that, hey, we can do this. We can bring another version of you from another world into this world that has the same exact thoughts as you, looks like you and everything. And if they don't match up to our opinion, we can either sit here and kill them off, or we can just sit here and just recruit them and do whatever. So there you go. I wanted to sit here and talk about that for a second. But there you go. And so with that in Pacific, and so talked about the whole Godzilla thing. Let me talk about this. I want to talk about basically I'm going to go back to my other 2 points about talking about had another multiverse dream where literally I'm in my uncle's place. I talked about there are different versions of me going through this stuff that I'm going through and whatnot. Was asleep on my uncle's couch. I sleep on the same couch. Went to sleep on my uncle's couch. Just woke up somewhere. But I would have to take a picture of how my uncle's living room is situated. I'm not going to do that. But like where his TV is at, there's a stand holding up his TV. But when I woke up, I was in another world, right? And I saw a shelf. I used to have a shelf of VHS tapes. I got rid of my VHS tapes when I was like in middle school. But wanted to emphasize on something as much as I talk about this, and I mention this on my community post, and I got to do screenshots of this and everything, which I did. But basically, I had a dream. I woke up in another world, not some new age crap, none of that. Woke up in another world. I saw a shelf of holding VHS tapes, and I think it was the same one that my mom had before we moved our house or whatever. Point is, and it was rocking back and forth and everything. It had VHS tapes on it, and it was stuff that I knew that only I would like, right? And it was rocking back and forth, and I was like conscious, and for a while it was rocking back and forth, and then it fell, and then it basically it reassembled itself and stood back up, right? This is a dream, because dreams are weird or whatever, but I was there in another dimension. I want to sit here and say this because this is in my thing, how basically this isn't like they mention this in like multiverse movies outside of Marvel and DC, but and this gets into string theory, physics, and all this other stuff. But stuff that is not finished here is finished in different worlds. I'm going to dwell into this, and I have receipts and everything. I did screenshots to make sure I'm not crazy. In my dream, basically, so the shelf, I forgot, whether it saw the shelf, and basically I was like, wait, what? And I was like, going through this, because the VHS tapes had like fell on the ground and everything, and I'm sorting through them, right? And two of the things that I like, because God does know what I like Aladdin, and I like, the Aladdin, the Disney version, and I also like the story, the Arabian Nights, the tales and stuff. And I also like the Ninja Turtles, right? And I grew up on the one also, not the 80s version, but the 2003 version, and the one that came out in the 90s where they were like in the prop outfits and the costumes. Check this out. They have VHS tapes. Aladdin has 3 movies. It's Aladdin, the first movie, it's Jafar Returns, and it's basically the King of Thieves, where he meets his dad, right? But they really never mention his mom. They mention how he had friends and stuff, and how he met Abu the monkey in the TV series and whatnot. Something you would have to watch, the animated series. But point is, they had 3 movies. Went on Wikipedia, and I'm going flip-flopping everywhere with this, but I wake up on Wikipedia after I woke up, and I found out that after the King of Thieves, that there's supposed to be a 4th movie of after the King of Thieves with Aladdin, right? So check this out. I call it an experience, because it's not really a dream anymore. It's an experience. I'm actually there. I'm there, right? In another version of my uncle's apartment, and there's I think 4 or 5 movies of Aladdin, right? Of Aladdin. But in the King of Thieves, it's something you got to look up. In the King of Thieves, in the 3rd movie of Aladdin is wearing a blue outfit that I think his dad wore. He's wearing a blue outfit and everything. Got to post a picture of that. You can just look it up, but it's something you got to watch, or you got to look it up or Google it. But I'll post a picture of that. And it was communicated to me, in my mind, God sat here and told me that, instead, in the 3rd movie, instead of Aladdin going with his dad, he goes, check this out, he goes in our version. Instead of Aladdin going with his dad, going with Jasmine instead of his dad, in our version, right? Because at the end of the movie, he decides to leave Jasmine, not leave Jasmine, but leave his dad for Jasmine, right? Love story, whatever, right? God sat here and told me, instead of that situation happening, Aladdin left Jasmine for his dad, because Aladdin was a bum, a street rat, as they call it, and he didn't have parents. Aladdin decides to go with his dad, and saw him in the same outfit and everything. And then I remember hearing something about basically Aladdin's grandfather, which I don't know if I don't know anything about the 4th movie. Got to do research on the 4th movie, but I know after I woke up and I researched it, Disney was in talks of making a 4th movie for Aladdin, but it just didn't happen. I don't know if that has something to do with his grandfather or whatever the case it was, but in this experience, right, Aladdin, he was with his dad. He decides, join his dad and whatnot, and it has something to do with his grandfather, right? So there's that. And then also with the TMNT stuff, the Ninja Turtles, the ones where basically they were wearing, and the costumes, not, the animation. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. When they were wearing the costumes and stuff, there are 3 movies. One where basically the one with the Shredder, the other one was basically Secret of the Ooze or whatever, where they talk about the origin of the ooze and where they came from and stuff. And I think so, but I know that's where they had Ninja Turtle that had like claws or whatever, and there was one that was a turtle and that had the Vanilla Ice rap. Now I know that by heart. And then the third one, you know, in our world basically is when they go back in time to like feudal Japan or something. And so found out that I'll, you know, provide links once again, but I sat here and found out, you know, in my experience that they wanted to, the third movie in our world, I guess it flopped or it failed. It didn't meet expectations. But in another world, it actually met expectations. And they were able to sit here and do either one or two more movies. I remember seeing like multiple VHS tapes of, you know, of the Ninja Turtles, literally. And I remember, and you know, that was pretty much it. Right? You know, because when you see stuff like that, it's just like, wow, you know, like, you know, I've heard about, you know, like, wow, you know, this is supposed to happen, but this didn't, you know, cause and effect, you know, the multiverse is infinite. And also, since I'm a Ninja Turtle fan, I also do know that with the Ninja Turtles, there are projects with the Ninja Turtles that were supposed to go through in our timeline. You gotta research this stuff, but I'll provide links or whatever later. But they were actually supposed to do a lot of projects even after the one that came out in the 90s and 2000s, where they were still in the outfits and stuff. They were supposed to have sequels with that stuff, but it just failed because, you know, it didn't make the money, you know, studios and all that other stuff. But woke up from that, didn't have that on my mind or anything, and I want to talk about that, right? I want to talk about something else. And what in the world? Okay, yeah, anyway. I want to talk about that. I know it was that. I know it was that. Also, and I also got to do screenshots for this because a couple days, it's like some weeks ago, but a couple days after I had this experience, well, I actually did go to sleep with one of these on my mind. Had this experience. I ended up finding out that the author, the creator of this, sat there and this was his intention. So, I had a dream, right? I had a dream of basically, I'm going down my list. Excuse me. And had a dream. And what was going on, mother? There's like a lot of stuff going on. It was like three things were happening in my dream. One of them basically, what was it? I know one of them has to do with, there's that. Okay, I'm going to separate this because like there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to separate it. Three things were going on. And one of them, this is like one dream. And one of them, I saw, imagine you have three rooms, right? Picture you have three rooms, but they're like, they're like sectioned off. So like the first room, there's a wall in between it. Then there's a middle room. And then there's another wall in between it, right? And then there's a third person, you know. There's, you know, saw three rooms, right? This wasn't me. I saw a black dude. This is like a representation of something. It wasn't me. I saw a black dude that was a Christian artist or whatever the case it was. He was just in the first room. He was just rapping, doing whatever the case it was, and he had like this aura about him. It was like God was showing me like his world. And then in the third room, it was the same person. But backtrack. In the first room, I saw the Christian dude doing whatever, saying whatever, you know, rapping, performing, whatever. And I just saw that person, individual. But God also told me in my mind that even though he's saying this, he doesn't really mean it. So he's performing, this is what he does, whatever, but he doesn't really mean it. He was like, in the third room, he showed me another version of this dude, of this thing, but he actually meant it. And, you know, now imagine, I talked about the rooms. Imagine get rid of these walls and they slowly start coming together, right? God showed me this. I'm zooming in on my face. They slowly start coming in together, right? They started merging. And as you know, like the stuff I post on my videos, everything, the stuff I post on my community posts, all the stuff I talk about, dimensions are emerging. God showed me this like some weeks ago or some months ago that they were like merging together. Since they collided together, they basically made another person. So don't know what that means. I probably figured probably means that something, you know, can't really describe it. It says in the Bible that I would do something in your time that not even you will believe, even if you were told. So like they made another person, right? So there's that. And then also the second part was basically I met Jesus. I think he was black, even though the whole black and white thing didn't matter. Jesus told me that he was black. Jesus can appear to you white, black, doesn't matter. But point is, I was walking in my dreams and stuff, and it was like, dream world and all this other stuff. And I told, funny, ironically, how I mentioned Aladdin. And literally, I remember seeing like Aladdin and all this other stuff, which Agrabah is actually based off of a real place in India. It's called Agra and Ba, that's actually a real place. But point is, I remember seeing that in my dream. But then I was just walking in my dream and everything, and I just had this desire, basically, to talk to Jesus and everything, and it's in my spirit, and wanted to talk to him and all this other stuff. And I'm walking, and I always wanted to know, what was it like to meet Jesus in person, and they talk. Everybody loves to talk about the Sermon on the Mount, and in my dream, basically, he heard me. And I ended up seeing him in his white robes and everything. I forgot if he was black or white, but it doesn't really matter. And he came to me and he told me about basically, and I actually, in my dream, I got to experience what the Sermon on the Mount was like. God just like gave me that experience of basically, imagine if God gave you the experience of like, meeting Jesus, on a Sermon on the Mount. Like, it'd be freaking amazing. But, that, and this is the same dream, by the way. And then there's this, and I can't make this up, which is why I gotta do a lot of links and screenshots and all this other stuff. But I don't think about this movie, even though I love this franchise. It gets into The Incredibles, right? I'm gonna tell you, I'm not making this up, and I found a picture of this person. I'm gonna say this. So I basically, how I talked about, waking up in another version of yourself's body, your doppelganger's body and stuff. Well, I guess that was the case, because it's actually been communicated to me like twice that I'm like an animator or something, because I also I like drawing and, animation and stuff and cartoons. And so, but in this world, basically, I'm not an animator, I'm an illustrator, because, the people that do the character designs and everything, they're like the illustrators and stuff. And I'm doing a outline of Violet, and Violet is a teenager, and is a teenager. They only had 2 movies. She's a teenager. But I was drawing an adult version of Violet. I remember she had purple, she had like yellow stripes. I think she had like the color purple was involved, and I was drawing an adult version of Violet from The Incredibles, right? And so turn around, I had an assistant with me, and I was drawing extremely fast. I was using pencils and everything, because with that type of stuff, some people, I don't know how it works now in the animation industry, but some of them like still use utensils and draw. Some of them do basically hand animation. Some of them basically do all that other stuff. And so basically, I'm drawing. And long story short, I had an assistant. I sat there and I said, I said pencil. Somebody handed me a pencil, kept drawing and everything, and there you go. And so that happened. But check this out. I'm working for the dude. Forgot. I think the guy's name was Brad Bird. He also made. He was involved with Cars, and he was involved with the Iron Giant. Hate Cars. I love the Iron Giant. But there's also supposed to be a sequel for the Iron Giant, but that never happened. So that's probably around another world. But point is, in this dream, after I got done sketching and everything, it was notified to me that Brad Bird had passed. But check this out. There are 5, in our world, The Incredibles 2, which I hated it. It came out, just to backtrack for a second, the second Incredibles movie came out, it sold well after all these years and everything, and Brad Bird, the dude who did it, sat here and said that, I'm no longer going to, you got your movie, there's not going to be a trilogy, there's not going to be no sequels, none of that stuff, you got your movie, leave me alone, all this other stuff. And then he mentions in an interview, like a piece of garbage, at least this version of him, basically he sat there and he said in the interview, this is me backtracking for a second, he said in the interview how basically him and the cast, the voice actors and everything, they had ideas and thoughts, but they just never executed it, and they finally just gave people the second sequel to The Incredibles. And so going back to my dream, right, how I talk about polar opposites in multiverse and all that other stuff, even though this is like out there, it's not really, even though this stuff is in TV. Basically, the world I was in, Brad Bird, because Brad Bird was involved, I think that's his name, was involved with Cars. Cars, the movie, in our world, has about 3 or 4 movies. And it always irritated me about how that movie that franchise has 3 or 4 movies about talking cars, but you can't sit here and expand upon the Incredibles. Well, check this out. If you go on his Wikipedia page, the guy I just mentioned, he actually was involved with the Incredibles and Cars, so he had something to do with the making of that. The point is, right? Um, in this world, Brad Bird was real passionate about the Incredibles. We got the first and the second movie, how it was. In the third movie, there's the third, fourth, and the fifth movie. And I think in the third movie, they were supposed to expand upon, if you saw the second movie, in the third movie, they were supposed to expand upon Jack and his powers and everything. And the fourth movie, have no idea. But the fourth movie, I kind of have an idea. Because check this out. And there in that world, in another version of myself's body and stuff, as an illustrator, it was like communicated to me that there are 5 movies of the Incredibles franchise. There was only one movie of Cars. So Brad Bird had the I'm assuming, this version of him in the I'm not in this dude's body. The illustrator, the version of me that's drawing all this other stuff, because like I was at a desk drawing. It was communicated to me that basically there are 5 movies of the Incredibles and there's only one movie of Cars. But check this out. The third movie, I said the third movie had something to do with Jack. And it was communicated. I don't know about the fourth and the fifth movie, but actually I do know about the fifth movie. I was drawing an adult version of Violet because check this out, and there's actually a picture of this character online, like spitting image, except for like the outfit. In the fifth movie, Brad Bird had died. He passed. And he was real passionate about the Incredibles and stuff, the franchise and whatnot. He passed. He died, right? And in the fifth movie, the kids are adults. Now, something must have happened between the third and from the second movie to the fifth movie, something have happened. And I'm going to explain this in a second. And with the fifth movie, I had this this thought that the whole plot for the fifth movie, Brad Bird had this thought and this idea that he was going to make Dash the villain. Now check this out. I'm talking how I'm talking. I got a bunch of other stuff I gotta get into. Hold on, let me see what time it is. Yeah, I'm fine. I don't care. But point is that the fifth movie was to be about Dash. Now, I'm assuming, just for me saying this, even though I'm going back and forth and whatnot, if you don't know, I'm going to tell you this now. Since there are 5 movies, there are 5 family members of the Incredibles. There's the first movie was about the dad, was about Mr. Incredible. The second movie was about Miss Incredible, Elastigirl. They explain that in the second movie. So you would assume that since it's a family movie with five people, it's individually just, this is also something that they did with Teen Titans, how they individually talked about the Teen Titans in each season. You would assume that since they sat here and they showed Jack's powers, that basically they'll be talking about Jack. The fourth one, they'll be talking about Violet. And in the fifth movie, I can't say this for sure, they were going to be talking about Dash, but when they were older. I'm going everywhere with this, but just bear with me. I saw in my mind, the fifth movie was supposed to be about how basically Dash was the villain. He turned into the villain. He had super speed and everything. He had the slick back hair and everything. But he had a suit and a tie. He was wearing a suit and a tie. And I remember before I woke up, even though I separated the whole Sermon on the Mount, rapper dude, and all this other stuff. I got all this stuff at once, so I separated. But from what I got, basically Dash was the villain. And he was in charge of some particle collider or whatever the case it was. His hair was still slicked back and everything, but he was the villain, which is why I was drawing Violet as an adult. And the reason why Brad Bird in that world and that action died off, he was passionate about the Incredibles. He died from natural causes, a heart attack or whatever the case it is. I was finishing it up, still drawing the outlines of the characters because they were still going to release this movie. Right? And that was just something that stood out to me. And I still don't know, the thoughts and all this other stuff that the dude was thinking. But he did say in the interview, he did sit there and say that, they were tossing around ideas and thoughts about what was going to happen. So there you go. But not making this up, Not making this up at all. My lips are chapped. Not making this up at all. What's And that's what God sat here and told me, that in another world, basically, there are 5 incredible movies. There's only one car movie, and in the 5th movie, not Jack, but Dash grew up to be a villain. Now, if you don't know this, like, why is that the case? Since I've like watched nothing but animation and family movies, and specifically and stuff like that. And I got to explain, like, I didn't want to make this longer than what it is, but specifically, I have an assumption why Dash is the villain, because if you don't know, if you've never seen, well, I don't know if you like in entertainment, because Dash is the troublemaker. He's a goofball. He's a troublemaker. He defends his sister and everything. Normally, there's like when you make a character, you have to like make them stand out and make them do certain things, right? No matter what you do. But specifically with characters like that, the reason why Dash is a villain is because, and specifically in team ups and stuff like that, normally something traumatic happens, and they sit there, even though they're the goofy personality and everything. The person with the goofiest personality in a team, like Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles, they recently came out with, and backtracking for a second, they came out with, and they said that the reason why Mikey was given the nunchucks, they say this in the series, why he was given the nunchucks is because he's the turtle with the most potential. It's not Leonardo, Michelangelo, it's not Michelangelo, it's not Leonardo, Raphael, or Donatello, it's Michelangelo, but he's an idiot. He's unpredictable and everything. That's why Master Splinter gave him the nunchucks. Going back to the point, is that when you compare the two, they are basically troublemakers. They're goofballs, but they have good intentions. And what in the new comic series, his brothers die off. Mikey's brothers die, and he's the one that basically has to sit here and finish the job. He's serious in everything. His potential is unlocked, basically. But with Dash on the other spectrum, something had to happen. I don't know what happened and whatnot, but something happened to the point where basically he was the villain. When he grew up, he became the villain, and he just sat here and said, I don't care anymore. With characters like that are goofballs, that are troublemakers and everything, there's a 50-50 chance with characters like that, if you pay attention to entertainment, where those types of characters, they have a high chance of either going bad or they end up going good, or become serious and whatnot. Which they really point that out in the first movie with that Buddy, the guy that died in the airplane. But so there you go. I want to emphasize on that. And I got to actually show a picture of a Dash of literally. I had the spitting image, except he didn't have the suit and the tie and everything. That's exactly what he looked like. Want to sit here and say, okay, so now that I sat here and talked about that stuff, this is actually a couple months ago. It wasn't this month, a couple months ago. I had this, I was using the bathroom and whatnot, got up, I was sleeping once again, got up from my uncle's couch and sat here, had this thought, after I got on using the bathroom, of basically, well, what if, the multiverse thing, where something's good here, something's evil, doppelgangers, all that other stuff. I had this idea and this thought of basically, what if Goku from Dragon Ball Z is evil, right? Is evil. And there's actually a fan thing that somebody made too. I gotta share. I'll share it. But long story. What in the world? Long story short, had that thought. And then literally, without me praying for it, didn't ask for it, just had a thought. I literally went to sleep and got there and just took me to another world. And I literally woke up, wasn't sleeping on my uncle's couch, was just up, was up, standing up and everything. And I was looking at it. It was sort of like a horror movie. I was looking at a TV that was on a square TV, not, the modern TVs, but, the old TVs they used to have back in the day where they were like real heavy and stuff. Looking at a TV, it was on and everything. And if you don't watch Dragon Ball Z, if you have, basically, the Saiyan saga is when Vegeta and Nappa arrive on planet Earth, right? But in that world, instead of it was Vegeta and Nappa, all I saw basically was Goku. But he was evil and he was there to conquer Earth. And it's mentioned multiple times in Dragon Ball and in Dragon Ball Z how before Goku hit his head, how he was supposed to sit there and take over the Earth and colonize it for Frieza. That type of stuff. Because this gets into, if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, this is a real thing. And so had that idea and that thought, and this is an experience. This wasn't something, I'm just like dreaming up and make it up. Was this experience, and then while I'm looking at the TV in the distance, it was on. There's nobody sitting there. That's why I sat here and said, sort of like a horror movie. And God, I'm looking at it and everything was saying like, wow, this is so cool. God sits here and tells me telepathically, in my mind, because, the Holy Spirit is in me, tells me and says, do not turn around. There's another version of you looking at you right now, and they don't like you, and they were evil, right? I literally, obviously, didn't listen to that. Turned around, and there literally was another version of me looking at me, and I got the vibe from him in the consensus aura that he was evil, and didn't like me. Woke up, right? This isn't something I'm just making up. Woke up, told somebody on the phone about this, and then since I follow like anime and a lot of other stuff, and I like cartoons and comic books and anime and stuff, literally this random, it wasn't a random, but this anime page, my freaking elbow itches, this anime page comes out. Check this out. And this is God. I'm not tripping. I'm not making this up. I'm not some false prophet. Sits here and says the news, because there are people that report on like, of Dragon Ball and whatnot, super fans. And it turns out Kirito sat here and said that Goku originally was intended to be a villain. He doesn't like the portrayal that Dragon Ball Super and how Toei Animation, Funimation basically portrayed Goku, and how he's like an idiot and everything, when this is the creator saying this, and I got screenshots for this. And Akira Toriyama, that's the creator, sat here and said that Goku was supposed to be a villain. And people like Vegeta, Vegeta intentionally, was a villain, then he turned like a good guy. He was a hero, then he was a good guy. Now. And so people in the comment section, they flipped when they heard the news. When you have a thought like that, well, with God, there isn't a coincidence. When you have a thought like that, you go to sleep. You see this when you're sleeping, and then all of a sudden, randomly, like a couple days had passed after I had that, and then it comes out that the creator of Dragon Ball sat here and said that, he's originally supposed to be a villain. And I saw it. And there's actually like a fan-made thing of basically what Vegeta was the main character, and say, if you think I'm just crazy, just saying that, because I got more stuff I want to talk about, even though I've been talking about this for a minute. In Dragon Ball, and just I would say Dragon Ball. In the Dragon Ball universe, there are multiple versions of Goku that are like evil. There's Goku, there's Goku as the good guy and whatnot. There's basically this villain named Turles, Turles. He looks like he's in a movie called The Tree of Might, and he's like an evil Goku. There's that. There's in Dragon Ball Super. There's Goten that looks like him. Then there's also in what else is there? In Dragon Ball Super. In Dragon Ball Super, there's Goku Black. You can literally type this up, Goku Black, and they explain that in Dragon Ball Super. Basically, this god basically switches bodies with Goku, and he was able to sit there and unlock all his potential and everything. That's why if you sit there and you see like drawings and stuff of Goku with like pink hair, or it's called Super Saiyan Rose or Rose, with the pink hair, that's an evil Goku, but that's in future Trunks' timeline. There's that, and I think there's there's that. And then, I think that, and that's actually pretty much it, actually. So the potential is there, and the signs and all that other stuff is there. There's that. Going down my list again. What the heck? Hold on for a second. What else I gotta talk about? All right, talked about that. Oh, my bad. Talked about that. And then I wanted to talk about how basically I had, I don't know if I had a dream basically, and I didn't go to sleep with this on my mind. I posted on my community post how basically I almost got strangled to death in my sleep by succubus and stuff. They had tentacles and everything. Well, fun fact, my facial reaction. Those tentacles and stuff that I saw, after I had that experience or dream, whatever. I'm not saying whatever, but dream / experience. Literally, the tentacles and stuff that I saw, except they were like different. They were like real pointed. They actually discovered a creature with those same things. I think it was like in Antarctica or somewhere, with tentacles and everything, and it looks alien as I don't know what. But going back to the point of, I had basically a dream, right? And this is God gave me this. even though I was like getting what in the app? God, hold on 1 second. Oh my God. And so, had this dream where basically, I'm sleeping. Obviously, if you take away the fact I got attacked by a succubus, I had this dream basically where, mother of God, I had this dream, and this gets into like how they replace celebrities. I had this dream that I'm telling you what I saw. I saw The Rock. I saw two versions of The Rock. I saw a demon putting on a skin suit and was that looked like The Rock. So it's I'll go for the terms. I'm gonna use this now, until I'm done with this. Evil Rock, literally. You might as well sit here and call it that. I saw the evil Rock, a demon in a skin suit, dressed as The Rock, running. Imagine if you run in and when you run past somebody. I saw that in my dream, and then Evil Rock was running, and he was running past, normal Rock, and lo and behold, when he ran past him, long story short, The Rock looked at him and sat there and looked at him, was tripping out and sat there and said like, was creeped out because he saw like, another version of himself, and then it turned out to be evil and whatnot. Hold on. Oh my God, there's people. Anyway. But, so there's that. Sat there, Evil Rock sat there, took him to an underground lab, right? This is actually an underground lab experience. This is actually like, this stuff is coming. I told you about the whole 144,000 thing, all this other stuff, just to update people on the stuff. Had that experience. He went to an underground lab, which is where he stored the real Rock. So went there. God sat there and showed me this underground lab was in some random place, which backtracking for a minute, in the movie, you should watch the movie They Cloned Tyrone, because in the movie They Cloned Tyrone, they talk about how basically underground labs and facilities are basically in places that you don't think they're in. They're not in the most obvious places. They're in odd places. Like for one of the examples was basically, I think, like a gas station, a trap house, and it was basically a gas station, a trap house, and it was a fast food place, I think. But the main one was basically a trap house. And yeah. And so going back to my point, this location was in the oddest place ever. I saw Evil Rock, basically take the Rock into some facility. It was like literally in an alleyway or something. It felt like it was like in Mexico or something. But point is, saw that. And then, saw that God showed me where it was or what and whatnot. After Evil Rock left, I was wondering, like where it was, was looking for it and everything. Went in there, and it's literally like a Men in Black thing, how they have in the movies and the cartoons, how basically as soon as you get in there, there are people like at the door, like, like a facility. Went there in order to get in. I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard stories about this, where basically in order to sit there and get in, you have to be chipped. And I told you about the whole power thing and all this other stuff. So basically, and obviously I'm not chipped and I would never take the mark of the beast, but God basically in my, in my dream, basically I was able to like basically adjust like my body to where like to make them think that I like was like chipped or something. I'm not obviously. And got past, and as I was getting past them, because they're like demons, before you got in, tricked them, because they knew something was up with me, and they sat there and they looked at me. When people have that look of basically, something's fishy, you're not supposed to be here, and that was the look they gave me. And obviously take in mind that, I don't have the mark of the beast, I am not, none of that. This is like, what God is showing me, and actually what I'm going through. And lo and behold, get past them and everything and whatnot, and I literally see like horrific like science experiments. I see like hybrids and everything. They had limbs sticking out. They look like mutants. It's like literally like abominations. They had no soul, and they were just experiments. And so I'm walking, and it bugged me so much to the point where basically like I wanted to go to the they had another room. They had it like sectioned off, where basically they had the hybrids, and then they had the human hybrids, where basically they had the twisted experiments that look like people, but they weren't, they're not human. Went through the door, And that's what I saw that. And then this is probably gonna go everywhere. This saw that, and then after that had happened, I'm on top of the what the hell? I'm on top of that. I'm on top of the facility, and I'm fighting. What was it? I'm fighting Evil Rock. Evil Rock. Evil. No, the double. No, I wouldn't say doppelganger, because doppelganger is another version of yourself. The demon that sat here and wore a skin suit as the Rock. And literally, I'm fighting the Rock and everything because he got pissed, and he found out, and this is actually like a demon. He got pissed, and he found out that I knew that this was a thing, that this is what they were doing underground, and I saw what they were doing, right? And so we got in this big fight and everything. It got into like using powers and stuff, and lo and behold, God, I guess I had this ability to just like manifest, like for some odd reason, God wanted me to sit here and like there's like fluid on the floor, like at the top of the building or facility, and there was fluid on the floor, and God sat there and told me to light it on fire. If you light it on fire, you're going to harm him. He's going to die, and you can run. And so basically that's what I did, right? Basically, whooped his butt. I think I did. Whooped his butt, whatever, and I kept like manifesting lighters and stuff, and I set the facility on fire. And so it kept going like back and forth, but basically I did that, and then I was back in the facility. Hold on, mother of God. I did that, and then I was back in the facility, and then the whole facility was on fire. Everybody was on fire. Literally everybody was on fire. The whole entire facility was on fire, and the whole place was burning up. And then in between all of that, I actually saw a woman. This is why I talk about the whole siren thing in the whole facility stuff. The facility thing, a woman, I don't know what happened, but I remember seeing this woman. Imagine if you sit here and you slice a human being in half. Obviously, I'm human. If you slice me in half, like in half, like in half, like where my torso is at, you're going to get human, my guts and everything, right? Well, when this woman that was in this facility, she was like in the outfit, in the suit and tie, Men in Black outfit, like how they have in Men in Black. She got sliced in half. And instead of, human organs and stuff like, showing itself, I saw nothing but tentacles. And I got to post that picture on my community post. I saw nothing but tentacles trying to reconnect itself as the fire was literally consuming, I wouldn't say person, this demon in the form of a person. And they died, right? That happened, and then eventually, I end up I told telepathically God that I want to go, I'm not trying to sit here and die, and I left. But also wanted to sit here and mention this, that in between all of that, from the time the facility was lit on fire and everything, that I posted about the Black Awakening. This is actually some weeks ago. I posted about that. Well, check this out. That's actually real. God confirmed to me that actually is real. And that guy, they sat here and they assassinated that dude and his wife. Even though you could call it, God calling him home or whatever. God basically told me in my dream that basically I saw a classroom full. They were teenagers. They were like kids. They were like teenagers. They were teenagers. They weren't kids. They were teenagers, and God sat here and showed me. I saw a classroom. I saw somebody at the board teaching them everything, and I guess I turned into the size of what was it, Ant-Man, literally, and they saw who I was or whatever. But basically, that part to me was weird. But they were teenagers, and the words that were in my mind that God put in my spirit was the Black Awakening. And to emphasize on that, and I was always going to mention this later, but I'm going to sit here and mention this now, this whole Marvel DC thing, which I don't really think that's a coincidence. This actually I had this dream actually either last month or a couple months or 2 months ago. So just really never said anything about it. And God put in my spirit that these teenagers that they were training, the word that popped in my spirit was the Black Awakening. And the Black Awakening, which I posted that on, you got to go through, either it's on my shorts or it's on my videos, where the white dude's talking, and he's talking about the Black Awakening, about the satanic super soldiers. I talk about the fake 144,000 and whatnot. That's them. And then I woke up, obviously. But want to emphasize on that, because it's not a coincidence that God sat here and told me that. And then as of recently, I'm gonna talk about the Blue Beetle movie first. The Blue Beetle movie came out, saw that, it was like a good 3 out of 5 stars, just like watching it as a movie. Didn't really like how they explored everything. But the part that pissed me off was obviously, it goes from a comic book to basically, something innocent, and then they demonize it to push their agenda. Well, basically, Jamie Reyes, the Hispanic version of Blue Beetle, because there's like multiple people that have been Blue Beetle, how comic books work. The Hispanic version that they showed you in the movie, when the scarab gets attached to his body and everything, it basically is on his back, and it connects to like his spinal cord, his brain, and everything. And literally, this is why I got pissed and irritated. As he's literally morphing and transforming, if you see the movie, or if you see, I think there's like a trailer where he's like changing and stuff. Literally, he, instead of basically in the animated series, and yeah, in the cartoons and stuff with Blue Beetle, it's just a like a Power Ranger thing. The Beetle's on his back, and he just transforms into Blue Beetle. Nothing satanic about that. It's a comic book superhero thing, right? But in the movie, as Blue Beetle is morphing, black goo starts to overwhelm his body, and it starts coming on his face, and then that's how you get the Blue Beetle. Because the Blue Beetle, technically in Marvel, not Marvel, but in DC Comics, is an alien thing. But I'll provide the link for that. But the way they portrayed that, the Blue Beetle, they portrayed it as something demonic, black goo and everything on his body as he's morphing, giving him powers and all this other stuff. When in actuality, if you read the comic book, or if I know I got exposed to that during the Batman, the Brave and the Bold, it's an animated series with Batman. Literally, it's just an alien bug on this dude's back, that's connected to him, that they can't really get it off his body, which they talk about that in the comics and all that other stuff. But point is, that's the comic book version of it. The one I saw in the movie, I hated it because they sat here and they demonized it with this character. And then they also sat here, since in comic book movies and whatnot, they always have to have a villain that is on par with the hero. And in this movie, they have like something, I forgot what it was called. It's called OMAC, which that's actually a comic book character by Jack Kirby in the comics. It stands for One Man Army Corps, and that character actually is OMAC really was a person in the comics. But point is, they try and make all these super soldiers, these OMACs, and they try and put, like that Blue Beetle thing I just sat here and explained. They do some transhumanism thing where basically it's on the person's spine. It connects to their brain, their spinal cord, and everything, and it's part of them. And that gets into transhumanism and everything. And that goes into how basically once it's on these soldiers, and how they can sit here and sell it to the government, across the world, and make money off of it. And the main villain is like a billionaire, a white lady. And how literally, just like I told you about with the whole Blue Beetle thing, they can sit here, morph their body into into weapons. They can fly, shoot objects, do all types of stuff and whatnot. And they have like these it's different from the Blue Beetle, but these mechanical suits, but it's infused in their body, and they're super soldiers. And that's what I didn't like about it, because there you go. And I don't even think, the Blue Beetle does have villains like that, but that's besides the point. So there you go. That gets into the Black Awakening, meaning that type of stuff is real, and they also want to sit here and do that type of stuff. But there's that. And then also wanted to sit here and talk about what recently, I gotta post pictures of this, what recently came out on what Marvel did, which I don't really pay attention to that stuff, because I haven't read comic books in I think like 2 years now. American ones, by Marvel and DC. But currently, they sat here, and in the comics, they did something with Wolverine. They turned Wolverine, because Wolverine is a super soldier, Weapon X project, adamantium and everything. And they show you this in X-Men 2. In the comics, with Wolverine, they sat here and It's hard to explain. I was listening to some comic book dude, but basically, I guess it's like a different version of Wolverine or what. But basically, they infuse. How can I sit here and say this? They went from turning Wolverine into a super soldier, even though there's like different versions of Wolverine or whatever, to basically infusing him with demonic powers, basically. And as a result, they end up putting like demons in his body or something that end up giving him powers. And as a result, he sort of looks like Ghost Rider, and which the illustration does look dope. I'm not gonna lie. But the point is that the odd timing of that, and I had this like the dream I just told you guys about last month or like 2 months ago. The weird timing of that, and then the Blue Beetle movie that I saw last month, and then in the comics they sit here and they come out with Helverine. I'm not making this up. I'll post the pictures and stuff, and how literally Wolverine goes from like with adamantium claws and all this other stuff to this dude literally looks like a demon. They call him Helverine because literally he gets his powers from demons, and his claws are on fire and everything. And even though the art and illustration looks dope, the art probably on the inside looks like trash. But the odds of that, and Wolverine is a super soldier? Why are you people coming out with this at this time? And, all this stuff is going on. And, message. Literally, message. Because in the Illuminati card game, they talk about how they own comic books. Well, they own comic book companies, which is why you see they're doing all this stuff. And even in comic books, just the books themselves. So, there you go. So, odd timing. So, there's that. I wanted to talk about that. So there's that. And then talked about that. And then also, let me talk about this. The whole Spider-Verse movie. This thing is almost like 2 hours long now. I'm about to go in like 20 minutes. Hold on. So, that, and then the Spider-Verse movie, that came out. If you haven't watched it, you should watch that, Across the Spider-Verse, because they sit there and they tell you, I posted a clip of that, Miles met another version of himself and went to his world and stuff. I posted that, but then this is what I want to sit here and say. The day before, well, not the day before, the day of, I'm going to sit there and see Across the Spider-Verse in the movie theater. God comes to me. If this stuff isn't real, right? What? I'm gonna say this. Why did this happen to me? This is actually a couple months ago when the Spider-Verse came out. A couple months ago. Was asleep on my uncle's couch. Had this dream. It was this weird dream. But basically, I was on a boat with the angel. Right? I was on a boat with the angel. Before I went to go see the movie, I was on a boat with an angel, and then eventually, I came on the land, and I was at this. I wouldn't say kiosk, but the station this lady was in, it looks like, when you're traveling on the road and you got to give coins to the people so you can basically enter the state or whatever. I don't know what that's called, but she was in one of those, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Literally, and I ended up seeing God in my dream, and I was talking to this lady, and I saw her, looked at her, and she was in this station. I would go road station and whatnot. But it was different. It wasn't no road station. At the station, basically, if I told her where I wanted to go, to a different dimension where I wanted to go and everything, she could take me, and I ended up going there. I don't really remember, but God was there, and I saw him, and so my dream ended. And so when I woke up the day of, I wanted to sit here and see Across the Spider-Verse. Literally, I'm not making this up. Literally towards, I would say the middle of the movie, or towards the ending of the movie, before Miles Morales goes to basically his counterpart's Earth, where he's basically the Prowler, and there's a machine that literally, this is not a coincidence. There's a machine in that movie that literally, if you tell it where you want it to go, you can go to another dimension in the Spider-Verse. Not making this up. That is in the movie. And the person who actually is in charge of that movie, they're not really a technical. They're like a spider. I'll go with the term spider person because they're not a Spider-Man. It's this teenage girl that it's like a virtual reality spider person. So that's weird. It's something you gotta watch. But she's in charge of that whole station board and everything, where basically some mechanical spider sits here and stitches you up and basically transports you to another universe in the Spider-Verse, which is why I saw that movie. So that was in there. And so saw the whole movie, found out that due to the writer's strike and this whole bullcrap that they want to sit here and do, that basically the Spider-Verse movie was supposed to, was speculated to come out, basically next year, actually, to now basically from next year to 2 years to now basically it is postponed and on hold indefinitely, meaning that it probably is never going to come out. And if it does come out, God knows what's going to be happening. But I got pissed about that. And so as a result, God sat here and told me, showed me really, because I went to sleep listening to the soundtrack of the Spider-Verse, not the with the songs and whatnot, but the film score, basically, which is actually pretty good. And basically, went to sleep listening to the film score, and God sat there and told me, showed me literally that Miles Morales and his doppelganger, that's the Prowler, were supposed to be working together, right? I forgot when that, but check this out. Turns out that, days passed or whatever the case it is, I see my reels on YouTube that they're literally supposed to be working together. Days after I had that, they're literally supposed to be working. I posted that clip of, Earth 42 miles, but they're literally supposed to sit there and be working together to basically fight Miles Morales' villain, which is basically the Spot. Which another reason why I want you to sit here and see the Spider-Verse is because the Spot, it gets into interdimensional travel, but basically goes from particle collider, check this out, from particle collider to particle collider, absorbing the energy, and he hops from one dimension to the other until he can sit here and become this, I wouldn't say omnipotent threat, but basically this multiversal threat where he can sit here and destroy worlds. So there you go. As a comic book fan, you would have to know this stuff, but I actually know that character. I'm familiar with that character. Why would you choose that character? Why would you choose that character that can basically, he has black holes and on his body and stuff, where he can go from dimension to dimension and all this other stuff? Why would you pick that character out of all the characters that you could pick from the Spider-Man gallery? Why? The directors, I actually listened to it, the commentary, they sat there and they said that basically they wanted to show that, Miles Morales is becoming his own Spider-Man, and they also wanted a villain that, could be on his level, but also that was deemed as a joke, but was also becoming their own villain. Their words, not mine, not making it up. But why that villain? Why that villain? Spider-Man has been around between DC and Marvel. Batman and Superman, not Batman and Superman, but Batman and Spider-Man are the only two characters in their own companies that have the most villains out of each other. Batman has technically a lot more villains than Spider-Man, because Batman has been around for almost 100 years. Fun fact. But there you go. So you always gotta ask questions why that villain? So there's that. What else was it? And then it also turned out that there was footage of basically, which pissed me off, there's footage about basically Earth 42 miles. They cut out a lot of stuff, which is supposed to be on the DVD. That Earth 42 miles in the Spider-Verse movie, the first one where Miles made that leap. This is why I talk about the comparisons of multiverses and doppelgangers and stuff. Basically, there's footage that got leaked basically of, in the first movie where Miles Morales made his leap of faith. In the first movie, there's actually a clip, and there's some work that was supposed to be put into the second movie of Across the Spider-Verse that had Earth 42 miles hopping off of the building doing his leap of faith, but he didn't have spider powers. He was basically, he wasn't web slinging, he was using the Prowler outfit and everything. So there you go. So there you go. I was mad. I'm not mad anymore, but I was mad about the fact that, this movie's supposed to come out, next year. Because basically everything God is showing me, and why I keep emphasizing on this stuff and why you should pay attention to this stuff, is because everything that God literally is showing me literally is in these movies, and that literally was a spitting image of basically what God was showing me. So especially the ending, which you would have to watch the whole movie. They give hints and references to that ending. And that's something you got to watch in its entirety. So there you go. Um, they also talk about the whole glitching part, which I talked about that before. I experienced that, so there's that. Hold on, let me sit here and so what else is there? There's that. I talked about the Wolverine and Wolverine thing. I talked about the whole. There's that. And so that, and then as much as I sit here pretty much and talk about the whole shift change, the doppelganger stuff, and then the power thing, and zombies, which those have to correlate with. I'm not a date setter. I don't do dates, but those correlate with each other. And from the stuff that I keep seeing and the footage I keep seeing, the people and whatnot, what God is showing me and whatnot, even though Obama, is going to get his own set of powers and stuff, I've been told, and obviously, I've been seeing stuff and whatnot, and God has told me I'm 144,000 and whatnot, like number 3. But basically, which that basically means that when you're like in, you oversee like the council, like of the 144,000, there's like a council, there's 144,000, there's the council, and then, there's like, there's the top. So like I literally oversee everything. So literally, so there's that. What was my point? Mother of God. Talked about that, but something's about to happen. I posted something in my community post, and I took a picture of basically, when I was at a convention. I was at DreamHack in Atlanta, and how basically when I was there with my homie last year, how I saw the umbrella logo. If you're familiar with Resident Evil, the umbrella logo, and this is like last year. Yeah, this is last year. Had to be last year. If it wasn't, my memory's like everywhere. Saw the umbrella logo at basically the MARTA station, because that's like when you go to the train station, and then lo and behold, when they sit here and they talk about the new stuff that's coming out, I'm not going to sit here and get my channel taken off in this live, but the new stuff that's coming out, they start with, if I remember news correctly, they start with Atlanta. And lo and behold, Atlanta, fun fact, is also supposed to be a 15-minute city. Now, this is Atlanta. I stay somewhere else. I stay like 30 or like almost an hour away from Atlanta. This is the city of Atlanta. So I don't know about everywhere else, but I do know, I'm not going to even sit here and say what my governor was doing, but I'll say them at my community post. But that's the thing. And so no wonder they sat here and started off with Atlanta, and then they sat here and they want to do a 15-minute city in Atlanta. So there you go. Anyway, but there's that. Want to mention that. So whatever's coming is coming. They're actually supposed to be having a meeting now about basically what they're supposed to be doing was 2023. So basically, if I'm not going to sit here and say keywords and get my stuff taken down, but if you know what the agenda behind 7 years from now, they're supposed to be having a meeting about that. Heard about that. While something is supposed to be happening within the middle of September, Alex Jones sat here and said whatever something's supposed to be happening in the middle of September. He would know, obviously, because the dude's not, well, if he was a person, he's a clone. Found out about that because the dude doesn't have what was it? Yeah, the dude's a clone, and then the dude basically the dude's a clone. The dude doesn't have a belly button. Clones don't have belly buttons. And so there's that. What else was there? There's that crap. And then there's also the Middle East peace treaty that's supposed to be going over in Israel and stuff, which people keep updating me. I follow people that I keep pay attention to that. But they're supposed to be pulling something, or something's supposed to be happening by the end of this year, because it's an election year, all types of stuff. And then I also sat here and said on my community post how I remember was going by my reels and stuff, and there's like some millionaire, billionaire dude and white dude in the suit, always a suit, being interviewed, and he was talking about that if something were to happen in America, connect the dots, I'm not going to say the word, that literally there's almost 400 million, there's like 360 million people in America. That's almost 400 million people. This dude sat here and said live in the interview that if something were to happen on a grand scale in America, that literally 300 million people are supposed to be dying in America. In which case, people have reminded me of, like, because as much as, like, some of my stuff comes from God, some of it doesn't. Because the stuff that doesn't come from God, obviously, is, me ranting and talking and whatnot, right? So I'm not going to. Oh yeah, I don't even. Yeah, yeah, I don't believe in date setters and the whole Rapture September thing, but and but that could also hint towards, like, the fake one they want to sit here and do, because they are showing people that they can do this, and the technology is coming out, that the aliens and all this other stuff. Look up something. I think I posted a link with that in my community post about basically the aliens and stuff that look like Predator, which I was on some dude's channel yesterday, and anyway, okay. I just looked up at the sky. I was looking at some dude's channel yesterday, and he was saying how basically Predator, not alien, but Predator, well, they're both demons. Yeah, they're both demons. And fun fact, the guy who also, I don't know about Predator, but I think his name is H.R. Geiger or something. The artist for basically, for Aliens, fun fact, because this is like sort of off topic, but the guy who was the artist or illustrator for Aliens, not Predator, but Aliens, literally, this guy was involved with the occult. Fun fact, not making it up, his name was H.R. Geiger, H.R. Geiger. Google him. I think that's right. This dude, literally, if you actually look at some of his, like, art and stuff, this dude literally has nothing. It literally looks alien. You can tell the dude is into something, just like H.P. Lovecraft. But point is, who probably killed the guy that sat here and created, what was it, Conan and Red Sonja, because he was involved with that stuff. And then how they do it now, how apparently if somebody of talent just happens to sit here and off themselves. Yeah, anyway, I'm not joking. The creator of Conan, even though he was racist, they said that he sat here and he offed himself. And but that the H.P. Lovecraft is a very unique person, literally, because he's part of that whole satanic system. But point is, it was that. Going back to my point. Mother of God, I freaking forgot my point. Whatever, don't care. Oh yeah, the whole alien thing. Yeah, people don't care. Now that they've actually sat here and announced aliens and all this other, yeah, that's what it was. After this whole thing, if you watch this whole entire thing, pull out a notepad or whatever the case it is and Google something and watch videos on basically about aliens invading Peru. Peru is basically where they have, like, the crop circles, with the monkey and all that other stuff. And also, fun fact, with the crop circles, there's got to be something with that. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, anime, because, even though the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh passed I think last year, a couple months ago, in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think it's like 5Ds, as in the letter 5DS, 5Ds. The whole premise of Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds is literally about this cult bringing back this ancient dragon, and literally the crop circles being alive. Fun fact, another fun fact, the Catholic Pope has a crop circle of a giant on his robe. The white dude, and I found out there, the white Pope, because there's three different popes. There's the white Pope, the black Pope, and the gray Pope. The gray Pope is way more powerful than the white and the black Pope. I've never heard of a gray Pope, but I actually sat there and found that out. The gray Pope was actually, I think, a Rockefeller or a Rothschild, and it turns out that there's no such thing. I forgot what family it was, but both I don't know if it's the Rockefeller or the Rothschilds. I think it most likely the Rothschilds. The Rockefellers are Rothschilds. They're the same family. They're the same group of people. Because they practice interbreeding with people and whatnot, to stay alive. But point is, going back to my point, there's a crop circle of a giant on the white popes, the Catholic Pope, in the white clothes. There's a crop circle of that giant somewhere around in the world. I don't know if it's in Peru or what, and he has that on his robes. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to sit here and say stuff that's not going to come to pass or whatever. But I don't know. I find it very strange that in Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds, the crop circles are able to come alive or whatever. They're like actual entities and whatnot. And it's something that you would have to watch in the series. But there you go. So, or they could just be like literally just crop circles. So there you go. Peru, literally, people are getting their face eaten off and everything in Peru. It's like a whole entire alien invasion over there. They're sitting over there talking about how these people have like these hover boots, like or something with lights on them, and they literally look like the here we go again. Comic books. The Green Goblin, from Spider-Man. These people over in Peru, even though they like stay or whatever, they got little small Chinese phones so they can work and record stuff, even though the quality isn't good. Literally, that's about the fourth time I've sat here and heard how basically the Green Goblin from Spider-Man, the live action Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire is a demon. And if you actually go in, like you do research, color is one thing, but a goblin is a demon. There are different types of demons. There you go. And literally a goblin is a demon. Not even joking. Not even joking. Literally, and the people sat there and said that when they were getting invaded in Peru, that the aliens literally looked like the Green Goblin from freaking Spider-Man, with Tobey Maguire. And caught note of that. Somebody also told me, one of my buddies, that this dude he used to follow that over in New York, when they would have like cryptid sightings or whatever, they would see something that literally once again looked exactly like the Green Goblin from freaking Spider-Man. The Tobey Maguire version, the comic book version, and the cartoon version are completely different. And also somebody I used to follow sat there and said that, when God showed her like, another dimension or whatever, these people, they were being terrorized by, once again, it was a representation. I don't know if it was the devil or representation of the devil of what God was showing her. But once again, they're being terrorized by the Green Goblin, the one that was basically in, what was it, No Way Home, and in Spider-Man, the first movie. Literally. So, not making this up. So, there's that. And yet, once again, people do not care about the fact that aliens are real. I was joking around with one of my coworkers at my job, and she sat there and she said how we know the aliens are real, we don't care, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, but people are about to care, because now that they've actually sat here and lifted the veil on that, now they're about to sit here and do something that most people can't expect, which is why which probably I got to get rid of the zombie stuff on my channel. It's not even on my channel, I don't think. But that's why what they're going to pull off, if this ever gets taken down, I'm going to save it. Because I am a member, or I can just download this. Basically, what they're going to do next is that zombies are going to be a thing. I don't even know how this could even... Tap to retry. Okay, there we go. Zombies are funny how that happened. Zombies are going to be a thing, and I've had on my second channel, and I think like they have like a zombie preparedness team. That's like somewhere on one of my videos. I got like 200 something videos. I'm not going to repost it because I'm about to sit here and look through it. They have a zombie preparedness team, and then they also have on my second channel, there's this drug called Trank, which go look into that, TRANQ, where basically they're already preparing zombies. So they basically sat there and said that a bunch of homeless veterans sat here and mixed animal tranquilizer and basically fentanyl together, and that's why it's called Trank. But basically it's turning people into literal zombies. But come on, bro, it's just like with AIDS. Why would a dude sit here and literally have sex with a monkey, bro? Like, make it, even though the bestiality is a thing, come on, bro. It doesn't spread as fast as that. That's a cover-up story. So there's that. I don't know about stuff that's going on now, but the lady I talked about that sat here and said that she was a babysitter, she told me that her husband, I gotta mention this too, her husband, who basically, her husband, his dad had passed, and they cremated, her husband cremated his dad, right? So, but his dad, he got the whole Mark of the Beast thing and whatnot. And literally, she sat there and said, because she was with her husband, when that whole thing was going on, that literally her husband's dad literally looked like an AIDS patient after they died. I still gotta look up what that looks like on Google. But it didn't look pretty, and cremated him. And I talked about before something that almost got my channel taken down. I gotta post that, but not making this up, dude. And so I want to talk about this whole zombie thing because I'm over it. I gotta sit here. Next time when I do a live, I'm gonna sit here and expose these people that sit here and keep talking about how it's a precursor and all this other stuff. Even though, fun fact now, that even though they want to, if you know about the agenda that's supposed to be happening 7 years from now, I'm not gonna sit here and say it because I want to get triggered and whatnot. But literally, they've cut that in half. Apparently, for whatever reason, because the real plan is basically, 2030 to 2045. Obviously, that's over in China, which is why they've basically been breaking down on the persecution of basically Christian people, because China has speculated that basically if they keep going from the year 2030 to the year 2045 over in China alone, that the amount of people that are Christian, that if they kept spreading the word of God and everything, that they speculate, demons speculate that if we keep this going, that these people are going to sit here and outnumber our army just in China alone from the year 2030 to the year 2045 or 2050. Literally, not making this up. This is their word, their words, not mine. The point is, there's that. And then also heard something about how they want to sit here and do stuff for the year 2025. Don't know what it is. Personally, I don't really care, because when I talk about the whole shift change thing and all this other stuff and whatnot, I've been on this for almost about 3 hours. It's like all that stuff correlates with each other. And, so I could care less. I mean, God's splitting the earth in half. So, I mean, I could care less. I'm going to be somewhere else. Literally. So there's that. So the zombie thing's coming. That's real. That's real. I'm trying to sit here and think of, that. And then basically I talked about how the whole, my uncle has, what. But there's another version of my uncle. Already met him. He doesn't sell cars. He works with video games and stuff. He builds arcade machines. Fun fact. But so that, there's that, blah, blah, blah. And then I talked about how basically, I talked about the condition of my mom and stuff. Hold on. Let's see what time it is. Yeah. So, talked about the condition of my mom and stuff. And basically sat here and said that, my mom was puking. I gotta sit here and talk about this for a second. And hold on. Okay, I basically talked about everything, but had to look at this paper I got in my hand. So basically, I've done talked about everything, but literally, since my mom took, she got 2 doses of it. Literally, my mom's health has been going downhill, and obviously, I told you guys about what I'm going through and all this other stuff and whatnot. But long story short, because I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna go, because I'm gonna talk about the whole attacks and all this other crap, because somebody did try cutting my silver cord. Good luck, they can screw themselves. Literally, they're probably dead. Point is, that's a whole nother story. Because there are people trying to kill me. I'm gonna mention this before I go. It's actually just popped in my head. So literally, with the state of where my mom is at, so nobody can sit here and tell me that all this stuff, it's a precursor and all this other stuff and whatnot. When literally, I posted in my community post. It's like almost a 2-hour thing, and I don't get into that whole pre-trib, mid-trib, or tribulation. I don't care. Whatever. Don't care really. The point is that people will sit here and say that, this is a precursor or whatever the case it is. There's no such thing as a precursor at all, period. Because if this was a precursor, why are these people, I forgot how many people have actually sat here and slept with people that taken this and people that have willingly taken it. Because it's the same thing, but there's a difference. You're still taking it. But point is, don't know how many people it is, because apparently there's 8 billion people. I'll see that when I believe it. People are dropping dead like flies. Why would these people sit here? The more I learn about the devil, the more God tells me about, shows me the mind of the devil, how demons work and all this other stuff. Demons have been around since basically, since Adam and Eve were around, basically. The whole Garden of Eden thing, when Satan fell, and then the whole Book of Enoch thing. Demons have been around for thousands of years. Thousands of years, what do you want to say, millions, thousands of years, don't really care. They've been around for a while, right? They know how people operate. They know how humans were made. I'll get into that in another live. They know how humans were made, how they work, their reactions to everything, and how the mind works. Why would demons, and the worshiper of these demons sit here, waste all this time, and they got to speed everything up, and they want to kill people off, not just in this universe, but in the multiverse? Why are they going to sit here and do all this? They're going to sit here and tell me how this is a precursor. Make it make sense. Make it, like, literally sit here, make it make sense about the amount of people that were dropping dead at a gradual rate. It slowed down. Slow down. You got taken off the news and whatnot. Slow down. Around like 3 years ago. Why? Why would they sit here and waste their time on that? And then I got something about basically on my Rumble channel about video games. And I talked about how basically the whole dream thing with the metaverse and all this other stuff, how that's going to be like where it says in the Bible. I'm not going to even sit here and quote it. But it talks about how, I know there's a Bible verse that explains how basically the people will want to die, but God won't kill them. That's like a zombie reference. Totally don't know what that scripture is, but I know it's in not in the zombie, but in the Bible. But why would they sit here and waste their time with that, when their goal literally is to keep the population under 500 million? Why would you sit here and get rid of that? Also, fun fact, since I do stay in Georgia, they also blew up the Georgia Guidestones, which apparently there's a time capsule under the Georgia Guidestones. So there you go. Avoid anybody that sits here, even if a person is credible in everything. Avoid people who sit here and say that this is a precursor, you can get delivered from this and all this other crap. Like, nah, dude, like the time's up. God is still talking. God told people. I remember follow multiple people, have heard multiple stories where basically they had a dream, an angel or God sat there and told them, don't take it. And God meant it when he sat there and he said, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. And there you go. I've seen multiple testimonies of people sitting over here taking the then all of a sudden their health goes downhill and all this other stuff. God told people, whether it's in a dream, or somebody actually, or whether it's on the internet, or you talking to somebody, God told you. God isn't somebody that sits here and lies. Like, even these people sit here and they know. Even Bill Gates, and I'm not going to say his name, but old Billy Boy even sat here and admitted and sat there and said that, hey, we couldn't give everybody this. And so, we pulled off on it. They knew they couldn't sit here and give everybody this. And they knew it. But they still ran with it because they sit here, they got to do what they got to do. And people still fell for it. So there you go. But I'll talk about the whole Mark of the Beast thing in another live. But stay away from people who sit here and talk about it's a precursor. You can be delivered from this. You can get saved from this. You can sit here and, basically, one of my homies told me something about some dumb magnet crap that people online talk about. And I'll repost it on my community posts. And it's been coming out, and it's on Rumble. I got it saved on my phone. And it's been coming out that this is not what word can I say here? This is not some normal medicine you can be taking. I can't say the word I'm looking for, but if you think this is just some normal thing that they've been putting in people for years, it's not normal. And I talked about it because I remember, like, years ago, even though I barely remember stuff from like 2-3 years ago, I kept reporting on it and everything. Sat there and talked about how my coworker almost got kidnapped and everything, which he was getting scanned at the club or whatever the case it was. But long story short, sat here and reported on that. If you've been following me for this long, reported on that, and then I finally sat here and said, which got this video taken off of TikTok, and I had to talk about a dream how I got taken off of TikTok, which actually did happen. How the video, this Christian scientist sat here and said she was looking at what she was looking at, and she sat here and she saw basically entities that look like the Mind Flayer from Stranger Things, and they call it the Hydra, and literally looked like the word for word, and her exact words was that when she looked down at the scope, something in her spirit told her that it was watching her. I got dreams and dreams about that stuff and whatnot, and lo and behold, here we are with the whole zombie thing, and now this stuff is starting to manifest in people, and people are starting to act weird and stuff. But point is, there you go. What do you mean precursor? Well, this stuff alters your DNA. Then I got it on my Rumble channel how basically people are giving birth to babies that, excuse my language, absolutely excuse my language because I don't ever cuss on my channel, but people are literally giving birth to fucking demons. Excuse my language, literally. And my Rumble channel, it's called Welcome to the End. Literally, there's a fucking reptilian baby, like word for word, word for word. I'm not even making. I wish I was making this up. I couldn't even believe it. Word for word, it was that. It was like a couple other babies. They got black eyes. They got sharp teeth and everything. And within a span of, if you've ever taken care of babies or, babysat, or if you have children, it takes, it does not take a week for your baby to sit here and walk. They got black eyes and everything. And they're demons. And these are the people that sat here until, I'll just call it for the whole Mark of the Beast thing. This is it. There is no if, ands, or buts. This is it. Don't sleep with these people. And I've been, people have been telling me that they've been struggling with that, all types of stuff, and I don't blame them. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth. Once you sit here and you sleep with somebody that sat here and basically took it, you are literally, fun fact, I got to talk about my mom in a second. You are literally sleeping with somebody, even though this is dormant. But this is why they keep, my mom watches TV a lot, but this is why they keep showing, if you pay attention, pay attention, why they keep showing HIV commercials, medications and everything for HIV. It's because literally what they sat here and this is what the Mark of the Beast is. It's also AIDS. HIV and AIDS are the same. You can die from AIDS, you can live with HIV, whatever. Point is, you can actually get rid of HIV, but I'm not going to talk about the cure for HIV because I don't want to get banned. But point is, literally, they were telling people, even all these articles that were coming out, that literally, for some strange reason, you should be real careful who you sleep with. There's a real high increase in STDs, specifically in AIDS and HIV, for no reason. Geez, I wonder why. But also going back to my point, the Mark of the Beast isn't just something that, is also a people say a spiritual thing, whatever the case is. I'll talk about that in another live, whatever. But point is, it's the fact that once you've taken it, bro, you have a demon in your body. Literally, you are the vessel for a demon. It's dormant, but your personality is gradually going to start changing. People are going to start noticing around you. They don't want to be around you. You're going to start going crazy, flipping. You're going to have all these health problems, which I want to sit here and go back to the point of talking about my mom. And literally, my mom has tuberculosis, which I don't know if that's the same thing as like a kidney disease. I don't know if they're same thing, different thing, don't know. Point, don't care really. Point is that my mom has breast cancer. My mom also, it was that, I know it was the kidney disease, tuberculosis, breast cancer. And then my mom was diagnosed at, way before she even sat here and she took it. My mom also has it and is diagnosed with heart failure. So literally, I could literally wake up on my uncle's couch one day and my mom could literally just sit there and just be dead. Just be dead. Literally, this is the life that I live. And then that's the same thing with my uncle. My uncle was talking about how basically he sat here, he took it. Then literally when he took it, he thought he was going to sit there and die in his own apartment, which, God is good. Because literally, I would be, me and my mom would be homeless right now. But point is, that, and then I know it's that, and then what else was there? What else is she going through? Yeah, she has heart failure. And then my mom can't literally sit here and live without her heart pills, her heart medication. And she had none of these problems. She had none of these freaking problems, dude, before she sat here and she took it. And a long time ago, well, before my mom ever took it, God sat there and told me my mom was going to sit there and take it, even though I sat here and told her like 10 times. The last time I sat here, had a conversation with my mom was some years ago. I feel sorry for my mom, but also at the same time, I don't. And I really don't. It's like I sat here, told my mom what it was, and the last time she was in her car driving, she looked at me, she just scoffed at me, rolled her eyes and everything, and kept on driving. And she tried to get into argue with me about it and everything. I wasn't taking that bullshit. Excuse my language, but nah, I wasn't taking it. Excuse my language, don't mean to cuss, but I'm not fucking taking it. Period. You would have to literally sit here and fucking kill me. Seriously, and also not trying to cuss, but seriously. So And you don't also have to sit here and shoot me dead before sit here and sleep with somebody that has this. Being around them is one thing. Sleeping with them and, nah, I'm not doing it. But that's going on. And then I talked about how basically one day, I was like, this was like last week or maybe like 2 weeks ago, I forgot. I've been going through so much stuff lately. Got so much stuff on my mind. Literally spent 5 days working on book covers. But point is, going back to the topic, my mom randomly, was just coughing or whatever. I was about to drift off and doze off and go to sleep on my uncle's couch. And then randomly out of nowhere, my mom starts coughing out of nowhere, physically healthy, fine and everything, despite the stuff that I just told y'all about. And all of a sudden, randomly, my mom basically is just puking her guts out. Literally had to sit there and run to, my uncle's laundry room and get a trash can because my cousin was in the bathroom. Like, my mom wasn't even sick. And so wanted to sit here, and I'm going through a lot right now. I'm physically fine, and even though I was cut, I've cussed a couple of times or whatever, I appear fine, but I am not dealing with this I'm dealing with it in a peaceful manner, not a peaceful, good manner, not in a toxic manner. And I would never do that. Literally never. And literally, despite all this, then this happened to me yesterday. My mom almost died and collapsed right in front of me. Not even making this up. I was at Walmart with my mom. What's today? Monday. I was at Walmart with my mom either Saturday or Sunday. It had to be Sunday. Sunday, I'm in Walmart with my mom. We checking out at the grocery section and whatnot. Once again, my mom is physically fine. At, the self-checkout, if you've been to Walmart, you already know they got the self-checkout. Was already pissed, was already irritated because I'm already short on money and everything because I had to pay for all this stuff and whatnot, this storage crap and whatnot that me and my mom got. And because that takes up most of my money towards the end of the month. And in self-checkout, was already irritated because I didn't want to sit here and spend $150, on stuff because my mom didn't have money like that because she's not working. She still has to get disability stuff from the all types of stuff. She has to get all this money from the state and a bunch of other stuff she has coming in. But point is, was at self-checkout with my mom, got there, was checking out and everything. Was praying to God it didn't reach 150, which it didn't. It was almost $120, but which that didn't kill me. There was that. And then I'm also irritated because at the self-checkout, as soon as my mom get there, they all decide to sit there and shut down. And then the dudes, and then they all of a sudden randomly come back on, which I was already, I'm a calm, peaceful person, but that just pissed me off. But point is, I look at my mom as she's helping me bag some of my stuff and groceries and whatnot. And literally, I look at my mom. I'm not even joking when I say this. I look at my mom because even though my mom's anemic or whatever, that's a whole nother thing. I look at her, and it literally, she was saying, whoo, she wasn't sweating or anything, people say, whoo, it's just hot or whatever the case it was. And literally, she was standing, moving back and forth like I am now. And literally, I literally looked at my mom, and my mom looked like she was about to pass out and fall on the ground and collapse. And my mom, when we came in, I told my mom puking and everything, my mom was not sick. Is still physically just fine, even though she has health problems or whatever. Still physically fine, not sick, wasn't puking in the car, none of that stuff. Came in as a normal person and everything. When it came time to sit there and check out, my mom just poof, just almost collapsed like a domino on the floor and dropped dead, literally. So no one can sit here and tell me, literally. And so no one can sit here and tell me that this ain't it. And then also too about talk about that. Well, really, and even hold on, what time is it? Mother of God, hey, it's almost 4:30. But point is, and wow, my phone's about to almost die. Point is, there's that. And then I'm wrapping this up, and then I gotta go. I gotta go into work and be there at 6. But point is that even though I'm going through all this and whatnot, God has been reassuring me, and God wants to sit here and tell me, and it's also a message to anybody, going through this stuff or whatever, is that God is with you, and that, it's unfortunate, it sucks and whatnot, but cherish the people that you love. Literally, not making this up, because what's coming, and what the, because what's coming, people sit here and they talk about 15-minute cities and all this other crap, crypto, like all that other crap that people are talking about, when which I don't worry about that, because literally God is true on his promise when he sat there and he told me you'll go to sleep and wake up somewhere new. But feel sorry for everybody else. But what's coming is literally going to kill people. And I know like a lot of some, I'm not afraid to sit here and say this. Some of my family and some of my friends, literally 90% of them are going to literally die. I'm totally fine with it. I deal with it, or whatever, but they're going to die. I remember one of my friends and whatnot, I was in the car with them, and God basically just sat here, and even though he didn't take the whole mark of the beast thing, God just sat there and told me that he's hopeless. And since he's hopeless, he's gonna get left behind, and he's gonna get eaten by zombies. I remember I had this dream, basically. It was me and him sitting in the car, and randomly, we were sitting in the car and whatnot, back of the car and whatnot, and randomly, zombies just pop up out of nowhere. They literally sit there, rip the door open, and I think there's like between 3 to 5 of them. They sit there and grab him. They maul him, literally. They grab him, maul him, and I mean this, mean this word from word. And I literally sat there, they restrained them and everything. Saw my homie screaming, panicking and everything. He wanted somebody to sit there and save him, couldn't save him because he didn't believe in it, because he's never going to give his life over to God fully, literally completely, and just drop his pride. And literally saw my homie, I mean this is real descriptive. They grabbed him, restrained him in the car, had the door open and everything, peeled back with super strength, peeled back the flesh on the top of his skull, and literally grabbed in and ate his brains, and they start munching on them, and they start eating them. I saw it bright as day, and literally they looked at me, because me and my homie were panicking. Literally, as it says in the Bible, one will be in the field and one, I'm probably butchering this, one will be in the field and the other will be taken. Literally, my friend was in the field and I was taken, and literally God just sat there and took me and didn't get touched. So that's why I'm not really worried about this whole zombie thing. Literally, it's a sad, unfortunate fate, but even this is like last year, even now, it's like, yeah, I know a lot of people that are hopeless, and unfortunately my mom and my uncle are one of them. And but going back to my mom too, like my mom has this thing where now she's never talked in her sleep before, but whatever. I don't know if that's part of it, but that, and I was asleep one day, and this is actually like a real thing, no dream or vision. I call it experience or whatever, but literally I'm sleeping on my couch, and I'm like in between, that phase of like when you're about to go to sleep or when, you waking up or whatever. And literally, the TV's off, and, everybody's in my house. My cousin's in his room, my uncle's in his room, and literally my mom is sleeping, and I hear my mom growl in her sleep. Like a growl, like a demon growling. And literally, I got scared, actually. Literally, my mom was growling in her sleep, and lo and behold, right then and there, God just sat there. I know me and my cousin left. Literally, the position I was sleeping in, I got lifted up in the air, and I just left my uncle's apartment. I just went somewhere. I just poof, I just vanished. So, God has also sat there and told me that even though you should enjoy your mom, and I know what you're going through and whatnot, and you don't really want to experience this, that you should enjoy your time with your, with your mom. You love this is my version of my mom, even though there's like other versions of my mom and, family and friends, multiverse and stuff. This is still this is stuff you got to see in movies. This is still my version of my mom. The closeness I have with my mom. And even though God has to sit here and, kill off my mom, the other part is basically, the compassionate side of God is still sitting over here telling me, the real, it's both aspects are God is telling me that, I know this isn't easy for you. I'm walking with you every step of the way. I'm here with you, and I know what you're going through. It sucks. You told her, and this happened, and she's slowly dying in front of you, and this isn't something you want to experience. And I know, but this is something, that unfortunately happened. I wouldn't say has to happen, but it happened, and there you go. And so yeah, that I gotta talk about that in another live. But yeah, dude. And so that and stuff is real painful. Like my mom isn't even her mind isn't even there. Like she's just like ever since my grandma died, which is her mom, like her mind has been like everywhere and stuff, and it just sucks. So yeah, and I just wanted to sit here and say that God is with you. If you know somebody or going through this or whatever the case is, that God is with them, literally. So yeah, that, and he also has told me that when my mom turns into a zombie, that he literally is going to annihilate her, literally. Yeah, but that's like a whole nother story. Literally. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I gotta go, and what time is it? Yep, it is actually 4:30. I gotta take a nap for an hour, but that's pretty much it. I wasn't expecting to sit here and this be 3 hours long, but yeah, that's pretty much it. But other than that, yeah, comment, dreams, visions, or whatever the case is that you get, and yeah, that's it. And I'm off tomorrow. Well, I gotta work tomorrow, and I'll probably do something between Wednesday and Friday. So yep, that's it, and God bless you. All right.